Hello, my friends. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with me today on this Wednesday, February 7th. It's the first day of the Adam Montgomery trial. And my understanding was that the opening statements were not happening until 2 o'clock, but I see the judge on the bench at Law and Crime. So is it happening now? I only see one set of attorneys at their seats. So I'm not sure if they're hearing motions right now. Has anybody been following it this morning? Because I've been prepping for this, so I have not been following it this morning right now. What say you? I also saw some chatter in the Law and Crime chat that Adam Montgomery is not appearing in court today, that he was excused. So tell me what you know. Yeah, Adam waived his right to be there right now, it seems. So if they're going to do openings, I think we should just, since we're all here, let's watch them together. I am watching it on this other screen here. It's a horrible, horrible case. For those of you who aren't aware of it, if any one of my amazing moderators are in the chat right now, if you could just put up a trigger warning, because if you're not familiar with this case will shake you to the core. This case involves the unaliving of beautiful 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery, her custody of Harmony was given to her father, when in my opinion, it never should have been, by a Massachusetts judge, when there was another lovely family who wanted to adopt her. And that family had already adopted her half-brother, but the judge in Massachusetts, in his infinite wisdom, decided to give custody of Harmony to her father, who was a convicted felon, admitted drug addict, drug user. And Harmony went missing in 2019. That was the last time she was seen. And she was not even reported missing until 2 years later. Her mother, Crystal Story, had lost custody of her sometime in 2019. And the last time she spoke with Harmony was sometime around Easter. And she never reported her missing. And so nobody was looking for her. And it's just, by all accounts, such a tragic, horrible story. So if anybody knows what exactly they are doing in court right now, if it's not motions or something else, let me know. This is Harmony. And she was a beautiful, beautiful 5-year-old girl. By all accounts, so loving, so sweet. And this is one of those cases, and I'm a lawyer. I'm a tough chick. I've had 30 years of experience in New York State and federal courts trying cases against the Catholic Church. My entire career has been dedicated to representing victims and survivors of SA, clergy SA, mostly, DV, on the civil side of things. And the last thing that I want to do is report on a case like this, but it is so important because the system failed Harmony in so many ways. And you're going to see that. You're going to see that. You're going to be shocked by that. And remember also that, COVID happened in between. There was no follow-up by the Department of Children and Families. They only did one home visit to check on her in 2019, and after that, nothing. And the star witness against Adam Montgomery in this case is going to be his wife, or maybe now she's his ex-wife, Kayla Montgomery, and she, in my opinion, is just as horrific as Adam Montgomery is. This is a monster. He's accused of unaliving his own daughter, taking the life of, let's say, his own daughter, 5-year-old daughter. I'm from New York. This is in New Hampshire. Somebody said, where am I from? I'm from New York. Mystique, for nobody to miss her for 2 years, she was failed 100%. 100%. Adam Montgomery's already sitting in jail on some gun charges, and I handled the gun trial with Duty Ron on his channel. That was before I had my own channel. And for those of you, how many of you watched his gun trial? I was very afraid. I was very afraid that he was not going to be convicted in that trial because not one witness was credible. Every single witness in that trial was an admitted drug addict. And if you know anything about addicts, you know that addicts lie. And that's part of the disease. I would submit to you. And every single person who testified in that trial was an admitted drug addict. Some of them were clean, or claimed to be clean. Kayla only got clean because she went to jail. Now I think she's still in jail. But she struck a deal so that she could testify against Adam. And here we are today. And this is horrific. How do you become professional liars? That's a great question. Is that half of a riddle? I'm just waiting to see if they start, because I don't want to jump into the probable cause affidavit and go over that if they're going to start closings, because we can just watch that together since we are all here. So thanks you guys for coming in today. Today for posterity is Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. It is 11:11 a.m., which are angel numbers. So justice for Harmony, R.I.P. Harmony. Rest in peace, little girl. This is a no body case. Her remains have never been found. And it's based largely on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of Kayla Montgomery, who was her step monster. Okay, here comes the jury. I'm going to put this on. Let's watch it together. This is in Hillsborough County, New Hampshire. You're on the West Coast, Truth Seeker? Yeah.
Rise for the jury.
Thanks, Aunt Bibi. I know you're close to this case. Been following it since the beginning. This is a hard one. No closed captions yet, so we can't do that.
All right, I'll ask the jurors to please remain standing. Everyone else, you may be seated.
Members of the jury, I'm going to swear you in now. So if you could please raise your right hands, and at the conclusion of the oath, if you would please say, I will. You so solemnly swear or affirm that you will carefully consider the evidence and the law presented to you in this case, and that you will deliver a fair and true verdict as to the charges or charges against the defendant, so help you God. Thank you. Members of the jury, you can be seated. I'm going to now read the charges to you in this matter. There's 5 charges. The first is charge ID 1937947C. This states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately July 1st and July 22nd, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree assault, in that Adam Montgomery did knowingly cause bodily injury to HM, date of birth 6/7/2014, a child under the age of 13, by striking her in the face. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027112C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire on or about December 7th, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree murder, in that Adam Montgomery did recklessly cause the death of Harmony Montgomery, date of birth 6/7/2014, a person under 13 years of age, under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life, by repeatedly striking Harmony Montgomery on the head with a closed fist. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge is charge ID 2027113C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of falsifying physical evidence, in that Adam Montgomery, believing that an official proceeding, as defined in RSA 641:1, Roman numeral 2, or an investigation was pending or about to be instituted, did purposely alter, destroy, conceal, or remove the body of Harmony Montgomery with a purpose to impair its verity or availability in such proceeding or investigation. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027114C. Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, at Manchester.
Okay, hang on. We're gonna take Claire's advice here because I see that there's already an issue with this. So we're gonna flip over to Court TV, and Court TV is a little bit behind, so we're not gonna really miss a beat. So give me 1 second. I think Court TV is better, right, Claire? As far as letting us play it. I'm just going to rewind a little bit until she starts reading the charges. For those of you who are just joining, we were going to cover the probable cause affidavit of Adam Montgomery today and talk about the trial because we thought it was starting at 2 o'clock, the opening statements, but they are starting now. So we're going to cover that live, and we're going to put on the Court TV feed because I think Claire says that Law and Crime is not very kind about others streaming. So let's check this out.
Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute of Thank you, members of the jury. You can be seated.
Okay, she's going to read the charges. Court TV is a little bit behind.
I'm going to now read the charges to you in this matter. There's 5 charges. The first is charge ID 1937947C. This states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately July 1st and July 22nd, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree assault, in that Adam Montgomery did knowingly cause bodily injury to HM, date of birth 6/7/2014, a child under the age of 13 by striking her in the face. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027112C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire on or about December 7th, 2019, at Manchester in the county of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of second-degree murder, in that Adam Montgomery did recklessly cause the death of Harmony Montgomery, date of birth 6/7/2014, a person under 13 years of age, under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life, by repeatedly striking Harmony Montgomery on the head with a closed fist. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge is charge ID 2027113C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire between approximately December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020, at Manchester in the County of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of falsifying physical evidence, in that Adam Montgomery, believing that an official proceeding, as defined in RSA 641:1, Roman numeral 2, or an investigation was pending or about to be instituted, did purposely alter, destroy, conceal, or remove the body of Harmony Montgomery with a purpose to impair its verity or availability in such proceeding or investigation. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided, and against the peace and dignity of the state. The next charge in this matter is charge ID 2027114C, and this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester, New Hampshire, at Manchester, between December 7th, 2019 and March 4th, 2020, did commit the offense of abuse of a corpse, in that the defendant did purposely and unlawfully removed, concealed, or destroyed the corpse of Harmony Montgomery or any part thereof. And this is against the peace and dignity of the state. And then the last charge is charge ID 2027115C. And this states that Adam Montgomery of Manchester in the state of New Hampshire, between approximately December 7th, 2019 and January 4th, 2022, at Manchester in the County of Hillsborough aforesaid, did commit the crime of tampering with witnesses and informants, in that Adam Montgomery, believing that an official proceeding, as defined in RSA 641:1, Roman numeral 2, or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, did purposely attempt to induce or otherwise cause Kayla Montgomery to testify or inform falsely. Said acts being contrary to the form of the statute, in such case made and provided, and against the peace and dignity of the state. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant, Adam Montgomery, has been arraigned on these charges, and he has pleaded not guilty. And of this, he puts himself upon his country for trial, which country you are. Assistant Attorneys General Benjamin Agati and Christopher Knowles for the state have joined the issue, and you are to say by your verdict if the defendant, Adam Montgomery, is guilty of the crimes whereof he stands indicted or not guilty. Hearken to the evidence. Thank you.
Okay, he's chosen not to be there today. That is his right. I don't think it's very smart, but
Members of the jury, shortly you will hear opening statements by counsel. Before that, I'm going to give you some general instructions as to the law that applies to this case and some other matters, which will give you some guidance as you consider the evidence in this case. After you have heard the evidence and you have heard closing arguments, you will hear further instructions from the court, and then you will retire to the jury deliberation room to decide your verdict. You should consider all of the instructions I give you, both now and at the end of the case as a whole, and not single out one particular instruction as stating the law. You will also have written copies of my instructions with you in the jury deliberation room. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a memory test. What I ask of you now is just listen carefully to the instructions that I give to you. You will have as many copies as you like in the deliberation room when it comes to decide your verdict. So you will have written copies of both the instructions that I give you now, as well as the ones that I give you at the end of the case as a whole. And every juror can have one available to them. So please just listen carefully now as I give you these instructions. The function of the court and the jury. In order to reach a fair and just verdict, you must understand and follow the law as I explain it to you. For example, you have to understand the definitions of the crimes with which the defendant is charged. You have to understand how convinced one way or the other you should be before deciding your verdict. You have to understand what to consider in deciding whether to believe a particular witness. These instructions will explain the law as to these and other matters so that you can reach a fair and just verdict. It is your duty as jurors to follow all of the instructions I'm about to give you. Regardless of any opinion you may have as to what the law ought to be, the law as I explain it to you is the law you must follow in reaching your verdict. It is up to you to decide the facts. You must decide the facts solely from the evidence in this trial. You must apply the law given to you in these instructions to the facts, and in this way reach a fair and just verdict. You should decide the facts without prejudice, without fear, and without sympathy. You should decide this case based solely on the evidence presented and the law as I explain it to you. The evidence in the case. In deciding this case, you should consider only the evidence in the case. The evidence consists of testimony under oath of the witnesses, exhibits which have been admitted into evidence, facts of which I take judicial notice, and stipulations of certain facts. During the trial, the lawyers may make objections. The lawyers are supposed to object when they believe that certain evidence is not admissible. If I sustain an objection or exclude any evidence, you must not guess as to what the answer or evidence would have been. If I order that a question and answer be stricken from the record, you must not consider either the question or the answer as evidence. A judge is required to be neutral, and I am in fact neutral. If during this trial or at any point during these proceedings you believe that I have expressed or suggested an opinion as to the facts in my rulings, you should ignore that belief. It is up to you alone to decide the facts. In short, you should consider only the legally admissible evidence in deciding this case, that is, the testimony of the witnesses, the exhibits, stipulations, and facts of which I took judicial notice. We talked earlier that there will be a view in this case, and I'll give you an instruction on the view later, but the view is also evidence in the case, but you'll hear an instruction on that in a little bit.
So it seems they're going to go on a site visit. They're going to go on some kind of view. It may be the apartment where they found evidence in the ceiling. For those of you who have been following the case, that's my guess.
Indictments are not evidence. The fact that the defendant has been arrested and indicted is not evidence of guilt. The indictments are simply a way of giving the defendant notice of the charges. The indictments are a formal way of accusing the defendant of a crime in order to bring the defendant to trial. You must not consider the indictments as evidence of guilt. Multiple indictments, one defendant. Each of the indictments against the defendant constitutes a separate offense. You must consider each indictment separately and determine whether the state has proven the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The fact that you may find the defendant guilty or not guilty on one of the indictments should not influence your verdict with respect to the other indictments. The possible punishment the defendant may receive if you return a guilty verdict should not influence your decision. The duty of imposing sentence is solely for the judge. You should base your verdict only on the evidence and the law without considering the possible punishment. The presumption of innocence. As you were instructed during the general selection process, there is a presumption of innocence that applies and continues throughout this trial until the state convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of each and every element of the offenses with which he has been charged. And the defendant has no obligation whatsoever to prove his innocence in this matter. And that includes the right not to testify if he so chooses. You are not allowed to draw any unfavorable, adverse, or negative inference if the defendant does not take the stand in this matter. The jury's recollection controls. You will hear the lawyers discuss the facts and the law in their opening statements and closing arguments to you. These statements and arguments are not evidence. Their purpose is to help you understand the evidence and the law. If the lawyers have stated the law differently from the law as I explain it to you in these instructions, then you must follow these instructions and ignore the statements of the lawyers. If the lawyers state the evidence differently from how you recall it, then you should follow your own memory of what the evidence was. Direct and circumstantial evidence. There are two kinds of evidence, direct and circumstantial. Direct evidence is direct proof of a fact, such as the testimony or statement of a person about what the person saw, heard, or did. Circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence. That is, proof of a chain of facts from which you could find that another fact exists, although it has not been proved directly. For example, if you look outside and see water droplets falling from the sky, that is direct evidence that it's raining. But if you look out the window at night and the ground is dry,
Yes,
and
Patty.
again the next morning and the ground is wet, that is indirect or circumstantial evidence that it rained during the night. By circumstantial evidence, I simply mean that you may infer the ultimate fact from another fact shown. You should feel free to reach reasonable conclusions from proven facts. Conversely, you may not reach conclusions based on facts that have not been proved. In the rain example, wet ground alone may support an inference that it rained during the night. But in the absence of additional evidence, it will not necessarily support inferences about how much rain fell or for how long a period of time. You should consider both kinds of evidence. You are permitted to give equal weight to both, but it is for you to decide how much weight to give any evidence, whether it be direct or circumstantial. However, to be sufficient to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, circumstantial evidence must exclude all other rational conclusions. This means that if from the circumstantial evidence it is rational to arrive at two conclusions, one consistent with guilt and one consistent with innocence, then you must choose the rational conclusion consistent with innocence. In determining whether all rational conclusions other than guilt have been excluded, you should not consider any item of circumstantial evidence in isolation. Rather, you should consider each item of circumstantial evidence in the context of all of the other evidence, which includes all other circumstantial evidence and direct evidence. You must understand, however, that this circumstantial evidence rule does not apply to direct evidence. If there is a conflict between two or more witnesses who offer direct evidence concerning certain facts, you should resolve the conflict. For example, suppose there are two eyewitnesses to a crime, and one testifies that the defendant committed the crime, and the other testifies that the defendant did not commit the crime. This presents a situation where there is a conflict in direct evidence. In this situation, you, the jury, should resolve the conflict and must decide whether, based upon all of the evidence, the state has proved the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You should consider all of the direct and circumstantial evidence in the case, as well as any reasonable inferences you draw therefrom, in deciding whether the state has proved all of the elements of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. The credibility of witnesses. In deciding this case, you must decide the credibility of witnesses. That is, it is up to you to decide who to believe. If there is any conflict between the witnesses, then you must resolve the conflict. Simply because a witness has taken an oath to tell the truth does not mean that you have to accept the testimony as true. Use your common sense and judgment. Consider factors you use in deciding important issues in your everyday lives. For example, you may consider the following: the witness's attitude, behavior, and appearance on the stand, and the way the witness testifies. The witness's age, intelligence, and experience. The witness's opportunity and ability to see or hear the things about which the witness testifies. The accuracy of the witness's memory. Any motive of the witness not to tell the truth. Any interest that a witness has in the outcome of the case. Any bias of the witness, or friendship or animosity the witness may have for or against any of the other people in the case. The consistency or inconsistency of the witness's testimony. Whether or not what the witness says appears reasonable or
Not right now,
unreasonable.
Kurt. Not right now.
Whether what the witness says is consistent or inconsistent with the testimony of other witnesses or with statements the witness made at another time. In deciding which witness to believe and how much of their testimony to believe, you should consider both the direct and cross-examination of the witnesses. If you believe that part of a witness's testimony is false, You may choose to distrust other parts also, but you are not required to do so. Inconsistencies and contradictions within a witness's testimony or between witnesses do not necessarily mean it is.
This is a rough one, polar bear lover. I'm just going to stop for a second to say I don't even want to know what's in that bag. I don't even want to know, but the jury's already looking at it, and we can surmise, if you've been following this trial, or this case, I should say, what's in that bag.
Possible for honest people to witness the same event and see or hear things differently. You should evaluate inconsistencies and contradictions and determine whether they are important or unimportant. You need not believe any witness even though the testimony is uncontradicted. Nor are you required to accept testimony as true because some or even all of the witnesses agree with each other. You may find the testimony of one witness or of a few witnesses more persuasive than the testimony of a larger number. These principles apply to all witnesses, whether they are ordinary citizens, police officers, experts, or otherwise. In short, you should consider the testimony of each witness and give it the weight you think it deserves. The weight to be given to the evidence should be determined by the quality of the evidence, not the quantity. It is not the number of witnesses or the quantity of the evidence, but the quality of the evidence that is important. The judge decides what is admissible. Testimony, writing, objects, and other things presented during the trial are evidence only if the judge accepts them as evidence. Throughout the trial, I may rule on whether certain evidence was admissible or not admissible. These are legal decisions which do not concern you, because only the judge is permitted to decide legal questions. I may make 3 types of legal decisions with regard to the evidence. First, I may stop some information from being presented at all. You are not to imagine what that information might have been had I allowed it to be presented. Second, I may rule that some information was not admissible after it was presented to you. You are to ignore this information and not use it as evidence. Finally, I may allow some information to be entered as evidence after hearing objections by one of the lawyers. You are not to give such evidence any special importance as a result of my ruling. It is not my duty, and I do not try to determine whether the evidence is important when I make my rulings. The burden of proof and reasonable doubt. Now, I've addressed what you should not consider and what you should consider in reaching a verdict. I'm
Yes,
now
Julie.
going to discuss with you how convinced one way or the other you must be, and this is referred to as the burden of proof. Under our constitutions, all defendants in criminal cases are presumed to be innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proving guilt is entirely on the state. The defendant does not have to prove his innocence. As I told you earlier, the defendant enters the courtroom as an innocent person, and you must consider him to be an innocent person until the state convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of every element of the alleged offense. If after all of the evidence and arguments, you have a reasonable doubt as to the defendant having committed any one or more elements of the offense, then you must find him not guilty. Now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, a reasonable doubt is what the words would ordinarily imply. The use of the word reasonable means simply that the doubt must be reasonable rather than unreasonable. It must be a doubt based upon reason. It is not a frivolous or fanciful doubt, nor is it one that can easily be explained away. Rather, it is such a doubt based on reason as remains after consideration of all of the evidence that the state has offered against it. The test you must use is this: if you have a reasonable doubt as to whether the state has proven any one or more elements of the crime charged, you must find the defendant not guilty. However, if you find the state has proven all of the elements of the charged offense beyond a reasonable doubt, you should find the defendant guilty. With respect to the final instructions regarding the offenses, I will wait until the end of the trial and after closing arguments and discuss it with you at that time. So as I said, I will give you another set of instructions after closing arguments at the end of this case. You will have all of these instructions with you in the deliberation room when it comes time to decide your verdict. As I said to you earlier, there's a form of this instruction that I'm about to give you. We call it the communication instruction that I'll give you. I've given you some of it before, and I'll continue to give it throughout the trial. Please listen very carefully. Do not discuss the case at all, not with the other members of the jury or with anyone else, until jury deliberations start at the end of the trial after all of the evidence and final arguments have been presented. Please keep an open mind until you have heard all of the evidence in the case. During the course of trial, please take care to avoid any contact with any persons involved in the case, the lawyers, the witnesses, and the parties. So I remind you, ladies and gentlemen, as you come in and out of the courthouse, you may see the lawyers or other people involved in the case. They have been instructed that they are not to communicate with you, so they are not being rude if they don't acknowledge your presence or smile at you or say hello, as you may pass them in the hallways. But you must, they are required to avoid any contact with you, and you are required to avoid any contact with them. So no contact with anyone involved in the case, please. Also, please be sure to avoid any television, radio, online, or newspaper coverage of this case.
Or YouTube.
I anticipate that there will be media coverage of this case. As I indicated earlier, you know that there are cameras in the courtroom. They have been instructed that they are not to take pictures of the jurors in the case, but I expect that there will be media coverage. You are instructed that you must not read any articles or view any media coverage on television, online, or elsewhere. So avoid your local papers, have somebody pull the international section if you want, but don't watch any media coverage of the case, okay? You are instructed to turn off any notification or banners that come through your smartphone, computers, smartwatches, or other devices, okay? Finally, do not conduct any research or investigation of your own. You must render your verdict based solely on the evidence submitted at trial. So don't look up the law. That will be given to you in the court's instructions. Don't drive by any locations. Don't look up any names. Don't look anybody up on social media. It is critically important that your verdict in this case is based exclusively on the evidence that's presented at trial. Our trial day will generally go from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will also generally take a mid-morning and mid-afternoon break. I try to look at sort of natural break points in the case to determine when those breaks happen. But generally we'll have a mid-afternoon, mid-morning break, and we'll also have a lunch break. The court has asked you to put your cell phones in a box in the jury deliberation room. Please make sure they are silenced or turned off altogether. As I said to you, you will be permitted to check your phones when you are on break. However, you are not to look at any news reporting or media coverage of this case, as I have already told you. Additionally, you are not permitted to take notes of any kind, not on paper nor on your phones. The reason for this is that it is important that your recollection of the evidence is what controls. Sometimes if notes are taken, they can be given undue weight, and it's important that when it comes time to deliberate, you are using your individual and collective memories about the evidence, and one note or one written recollection doesn't control. You should also be aware that there will be no transcript available to you when it comes time to deliberate. So although we have our excellent court monitors here and there's an audio recording, that is not available to the jurors, and there will be no transcript. So your individual and collective recollection is what will control as you go into the deliberations. Therefore, please listen carefully to the evidence as it is presented. If during the course of this trial you have any questions or problems, you become thirsty or need anything else, just get the court officer's attention, either of our court officers or my attention, so that we can assist you. If at any time during the trial you cannot hear, please raise your hand so that I can ask the witness or the lawyers to speak up. That goes as well for any monitors. If you cannot see, please do let us know. It is important that you are viewing and listening to all of the evidence as it's presented. So ladies and gentlemen, it is now 20 of. I had indicated to you earlier that I thought we would go right into opening statements, but based on what I anticipate the length of the opening statements will be, I think that would hold your lunch off for quite a long time. So after speaking with the lawyers, I think what we're going to do is we'll take an early lunch break. So we're going to break now. Please come back at in 1 hour, so 20 to 1, and then we'll move directly into opening statements. So don't talk about the case, not with each other, not with anybody else. Don't look up any media. Don't do any independent research. And I will see you in an hour after lunch.
Okay, how long until they add YouTube into those jury instructions? Do not watch anybody on YouTube who's covering this case. Do not watch any commentators. Do not watch anybody on YouTube. How long before that happens? It's my understanding that you can't force the defendant to be in court in any case. He's represented by counsel. They are there on his behalf, and he does not have to be there. He has chosen to not come there today. They're not going on any site visits today. Somebody said maybe that's why he's not there. But he is represented. So, and I'm sure that if he chooses not to show up at all, the judge is going to say you can't draw a negative inference from that. But of course they are. Of course they will. Let's see if they're talking about anything else that we need to hear here. They're low talking, so I can't hear. And now they're approaching, and the jury's gone. They sent the jury to lunch. So what I'd like to do in the meantime, since we have an hour, let's go over the probable cause affidavit, which was the original plan for today, and see how much we can get through. I don't know how long the trial is supposed to be, Kirsten. Not sure. Does anybody know? As long as it takes. Peter, why 2 trials? They wanted him to be convicted of something. So he's being held in prison. He's going to be there for, I forget what the sentence was on the gun charges, but it's a lot. Maybe that's why he's not showing up, because he's like, who cares? I'm going to be in jail for a long time anyway. Prison. Thank you, Jane Bond, for your super sticker. Justice is coming, Harmony. I hope so. I hope so. How does it look for the jury? The defendant not showing up? You tell me. If you were sitting on the jury, what would you think? I would think he can't even be there. He's a coward. I want to show you real quick the picture of him showing up to court yesterday. It was pretty gross. But I did screenshot it, and then I decided not, or I decided not to use it on my thumbnail now because I thought it was pretty disgusting. Here's a picture of him showing up to court yesterday with his tongue out. Really disgusting. Oh, and now Court TV is zooming in on the bag, so there's that. Taped with evidence tape. Those of you who have been following the case know that he is alleged to have kept Harmony's little body, maybe in pieces, in a cooler. He brought it to work, put it in a freezer. He worked at a restaurant. Absolutely horrific. Yeah, and this is what happened, Night Owl. Crystal Story, who is the biological mom of Harmony, had 2 hearings on the day she was supposed to go to court for Harmony. She had one hearing for the adoption of her son and another hearing for Harmony that was in a completely different town, in a completely different place, and very far away. She asked the Massachusetts judge in the Harmony case to put that over, to adjourn it to another day when she could be there, and the Massachusetts judge denied her request, even though she explained that she had to be in court for her other son's adoption because she lost custody of both of her children. So this is a tragic story. There's a lot of drug use involved here, and it's bad all around. I'm going to trigger warn you again, because when we look at this probable cause affidavit and the things that we're going to find out from this, if you have not seen this case, just be ready. Oh, StreamYard, you're the bane of my existence. They make nothing easy. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, we have an hour. Let's see how much we can get through. This is the arrest warrant for Adam Montgomery out of Hillsborough County, New Hampshire. Adam Montgomery is charged with 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of tampering with witness and informants, 1 count of falsifying physical evidence, and 1 count of abuse of a corpse. This arrest warrant was dated October 21 of 2022. And we're going to skip right to the affidavit of probable cause. Which I started highlighting, but I didn't finish. So here we go. Here's an affidavit that is signed by a police officer with the city of Manchester, New Hampshire. Who had been so employed since 2015. Prior to that, he was a police officer with the town of Winchester, New Hampshire from July 2013 to November 2015. Graduated from the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training class in 2013. He's held the rank of detective with the Manchester Police Department since 2018. He did the initial investigation as well as the follow-up investigation of this crime. And here is what he found in his investigation. Probable cause. Harmony Montgomery reported missing. On 11/18, November 18th of 2021, the Manchester Police Department received a call from a woman determined to be Crystal Sorey regarding her biological daughter, Harmony Montgomery. Sorey reported that Harmony, who was in the physical custody of Sorey's ex, that is Adam Montgomery, was missing and that she hadn't seen Harmony in over 6 months. It's going to turn out that she really hadn't seen her in over 2 years. Sorey identified her ex as Adam Montgomery. An employee of the Manchester Police Department contacted DCYF and learned of previous addresses associated with Adam. Manchester police officers checked those addresses, but were unable to locate Adam or Harmony. DCYF is what we call in New York CPS, Department of Children, Youth, and Families. On December 27th, 2021, DCYF notified the Manchester Police Department that they were also unable to locate Harmony. Consequently, the Manchester Police Department initiated an investigation into the whereabouts of Harmony. Over the following days, members of the Manchester Police Department learned that Harmony had not been physically seen since approximately October or November of 2019. Sorey, who resided in Massachusetts, notified authorities that she had not seen Harmony since around Easter of 2019. Approximately 4/21 of 2019. The child had been in the physical and legal custody of her biological father, Adam Montgomery, pursuant to a decision and order from the Lawrence Juvenile Court, docket number located in Essex County, Massachusetts, dated February 21, 2019. The case was subsequently assigned to me. During my follow-up with Crystal, she explained that she had lost custody of the child in July of 2018 to the state of Massachusetts, in part due to a substance abuse issue. Crystal said that both she and Adam had past issues with substance abuse. Crystal reported that since then, she has regained sobriety and unsuccessfully made attempts throughout 2021 to locate Adam and Harmony. Adam and his subsequent partner, Kayla Montgomery, had blocked all communication with Crystal through phone numbers and social media applications. Crystal said over the years, she made attempt to locate Harmony by contacting various schools and driving by addresses associated with Adam, but she was unable to make any progress. Crystal said that she believed that she last physically saw Harmony during a FaceTime video call with Adam around Easter of 2019. Crystal stated that Adam was visible in the background of the video. Crystal recalled that Harmony seemed frightened. Beginning on 12/27/21, members of the Manchester Police Department actively made attempts to track down Adam and to talk to family members to establish the last time that Harmony was physically observed and known to be safe. Officers and investigators were initially unable to make contact with Adam via phone. However, investigators were able to make contact with various family members, including parties associated with Adam who reside in Florida. Through these family members, investigators received information that Adam had previously admitted to giving Harmony a black eye in approximately July of 2019. First interview with Kayla Montgomery. On 12/28/21, I spoke with Adam's wife, Kayla Montgomery. Kayla shares 3 younger children with Adam who are all presently accounted for. Footnote 1 says Adam and Kayla are the biological parents of 3 minor children, all younger than Harmony. One was born in 2017, one was born in 2019, and the third was born after Harmony was killed in 2020. During my follow-up with Kayla, I asked about the last time she had physically seen Harmony. Kayla said that sometime in November or December of 2019, she saw Harmony one morning prior to going to work. Adam said that he was driving Harmony back to Crystal, who was living in Massachusetts at the time. Kayla said that she believed Harmony had been returned to Crystal. Kayla claimed she never saw or heard about Harmony after that day. Kayla had not physically seen Adam since late October 2021 and had not spoken with him since around mid-November of 2021. Kayla claimed Adam was living in a sober house and had then left the area to live in Maine with another female. First contact with Adam Montgomery. On December 31st, 2021, New Year's Eve, patrol officers were able to make contact with Adam and his new girlfriend, Kelsey Small, together sleeping in a vehicle in the area of Harville Street in Manchester. Investigators, including myself, Detective Kozowick, and Detective Riley, responded to that location to speak with the couple. Small claimed that she had been romantically involved with Adam for over a year. Small said that she was aware that Adam has 3 children from one mother and another child from before that. However, Small said that Adam was not in touch with any child from his prior relationship. Small claimed that Adam had never talked about Harmony and she had no information where she may be. I want to point out here, because I don't think it's mentioned, Kelsey Small has since died. She was found dead, I believe, in a hotel room, I believe of an alleged overdose. If I'm conflating my cases, that could be true, but if anybody knows, let me know. But I do know that she is deceased. During our interaction with Adam, we stressed our concern that Harmony had not been physically observed in over 2 years and that we had concerns for whether or not she was still alive. Adam did not exhibit much emotion or reaction to this. Further interview with Kayla Montgomery. Also on December 31st, 2021, Kayla Montgomery participated in a voluntary interview with Detective Riley and myself. During this interview, she spoke about the last time she saw Harmony. In this interview, she told us that 2 days after Thanksgiving of 2019, which would have been November 30th of 2019, Adam had taken her to work, which she said was a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at Dunkin' Donuts on Eddy Road in Manchester. She said that while Adam was dropping her off, he said he was bringing Harmony to her, Harmony's mom, and that he was going to meet her, Harmony's mom, and bring Harmony to stay with her. Kayla said that later that day, Adam picked her up and he no longer had Harmony. He said he had just dropped Harmony off. Kayla said she assumed Adam dropped Harmony off in Massachusetts, as that is where Crystal was living at the time. Detectives were concerned about Kayla's account that Adam claimed he was bringing Harmony to Crystal, especially because Crystal outright denied ever taking custody of Harmony from Adam at the time or ever seeing Harmony following the video chat in April of 2019. The investigation revealed that in November of 2019, Crystal lived at an address in Lowell, Massachusetts with her boyfriend, Joseph Eckert. On December 31 of 2021, Joseph was interviewed and he confirmed that he was living with Crystal in 2019 and Harmony was not with Crystal at all from October 19 to the present. In fact, Joseph stated that he has never met Harmony in person. A review of DCYF involvements indicated that social workers had not viewed Harmony since October 1st of 2019 during a home visit with Adam Montgomery in New Hampshire. Not only have family members not seen Harmony since 2019, DCYF contacted the Manchester School District on September 10th of 2021. A representative from the school district stated that Harmony was not registered in the district. Family court order regarding locating and protective supervision of Harmony Montgomery. On December 31 of 2021, the Ninth Circuit Family Division, Manchester, granted protective supervision of Harmony to DCYF from Adam via a juvenile abuse/neglect ex parte order. At the time of the order, Adam had been Harmony's sole custodian. The order stated specifically that Adam was ordered to cooperate with the Manchester Police Department and assist with locating Harmony. Detective Riley served Adam with that order on the afternoon of 12/31/21 at approximately 16:10 hours. However, Adam refused to provide any information on the whereabouts of Harmony. When handed the order by detectives and told that he had to provide information on Harmony's whereabouts, Adam said, "Either arrest me or I'm leaving," and refused to answer additional questions. Adam was arrested on charges related to Harmony on January 4th of 2022 and was formally charged and arraigned on January 5th of 2022. These charges consist of second-degree assault for an incident in July of 2019, interference with custody, and 2 charges of endangering the welfare of a child. He has been detained at the Hillsborough County House of Corrections since that date. Kayla Montgomery's grand jury testimony. On May 20th of 2022, Kayla Montgomery testified before the grand jury for Hillsborough County Northern District as part of the grand jury's investigation into the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery. Kayla was under oath for her testimony. During her testimony, Kayla was asked about the last time she saw Harmony. She stated, in sum, that it was 2 days after Thanksgiving 2019, which would have been November 30th of 2019, when Adam dropped her off to work at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at Dunkin' Donuts in Goffstown. Harmony was in the car, and Adam said he was bringing Harmony to Harmony's mother. When Adam picked Kayla up a little after 2 p.m., Harmony was no longer with Adam, and Adam said he brought Harmony to Harmony's mom. At this time, Kayla said she never saw Harmony after that, and she didn't know what happened to Harmony. Investigators researched Kayla's claim about the location and shift she was working 2 days after Thanksgiving 2019, which was November 30th of 2019. All Dunkin' Donuts locations in Goffstown confirmed that Kayla was not working there on November 30th of 2019. Records obtained from New Hampshire Employment Security showed that the only employer who paid Kayla in November 2019 was a Dunkin' Donuts in Hooksett, New Hampshire, and that Dunkin' Donuts store confirmed that Kayla was fired from that location on 11/23 of 2019. As a result, an arrest warrant was obtained for Kayla for 2 charges of perjury. I'm going to break from the document for 1 second to welcome anyone who is just arriving. I had planned to read this probable cause affidavit and go over it with you, and then the court started early. So the court broke at 11:45. They swore in the jury in this case, and the judge gave some initial jury instructions. They are coming back at 12:40 or so, 12:44 to do opening statements. We will cut back to the feed then. But in the meantime, we're going over the probable cause affidavit that was used to arrest Adam Montgomery on the charges of taking the life of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony. This is taking place in Hillsborough County, New Hampshire, near Manchester, or in Manchester. Kayla was arrested on the perjury charges on June 3rd of 2022. On that same day, Kayla participated in a proffer interview at Manchester Police Department. Her attorney was present for the interview. Kayla Montgomery's first proffer interview. During the proffer interview, Kayla admitted she had lied during her grand jury testimony. She stated that she had information related to Harmony Montgomery. Kayla stated that the family, herself, Adam, Harmony, and their 2 children, was evicted from where they were living on Guildford Street in Manchester the day before Thanksgiving 2019, which would have been November 27th of 2019. Kayla said after that they were living in their vehicle, which we know to be a Chrysler Sebring. During their time living out of the vehicle, they stayed in the parking lot of Colonial Village on River Road in Manchester, where their friend Anthony Bodero lived. Kayla stated that from Thanksgiving up until the beginning of December, Bodero saw Harmony and the other two boys and would wave at them. She also said that Bodero brought them Thanksgiving leftovers while they were living in the Sebring, and that he saw Harmony at the time and he and Harmony waved at each other. Kayla stated that on the day the Chrysler Sebring broke down, known to be December 7th of 2019, as discussed in further detail below, Adam Montgomery struck Harmony, which caused her death. Kayla stated that while living in the vehicle together, Adam was extremely upset that 5-year-old Harmony was not saying when she needed to go to the bathroom and was having accidents in the car. Kayla stated that after each accident, Adam would get upset and would strike Harmony in the face or head with a closed fist. I want to put up a trigger warning, so if one of my amazing moderators would just type one into the chat, and I'll just put it up while I continue reading this, because I'm going to warn you that this is rough. This is rough. Hey, everyone who's new. Yeah, put your DNA on that like button. It's free. It's free. This is a hard one. This is a really hard one. So they had ride or die tattoos. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Leisha Henderson, for putting that up for me. I'll keep that one up for now. Thank you very much. Kayla stated that on December 7th of 2019, prior to the vehicle breaking down, Adam struck Harmony in the face or head on 3 separate occasions because she had a bathroom accident. This happened while Adam was driving the vehicle. Kayla described that Harmony was in the rear seat on the passenger side, and while Adam was driving, he turned his body and delivered sets of 3 to 4 blows with a closed fist to Harmony's face and head on 3 separate occasions over the course of a few minutes. Kayla stated that after the final blow, Adam said words to the effect that he felt something or heard something when he hit Harmony, and, quote, "I think I really hurt her this time. I think I did something." Harmony began making a moaning type noise, which went on for roughly 5 minutes and then stopped. At no time did anyone stop or get Harmony medical attention as the result of this assault. Kayla said this happened in the morning while the family was on their way to the Burger King on Route 3 in Manchester, and afterwards the family reunited in the parking lot of the Colonial Village apartments. Reunited, sorry. The family, I'm thinking, why did they reunite there? No, they returned there. Afterwards, the family returned to the parking lot of the Colonial Village apartments. The family stayed at Colonial Village for approximately 20 minutes, during which time no one checked on Harmony. Kayla could not recall exactly what they did during this 20-minute time period. Footnote 2. In a second proffer interview conducted on 6/23/22, Kayla said that during this approximately 20-minute time period, Adam had her get a bag of heroin and fentanyl from Bodero. She and Adam then used some of that heroin and fentanyl before leaving the Colonial Village parking lot. This is what we're dealing with, my friends. Initially, she couldn't remember exactly what they did during that 20-minute period, but during her second proffer, she suddenly remembered they got a bag of heroin and fentanyl, and they decided to do drugs instead of get this 5-year-old medical attention or even look at her. Kayla said that approximately after 20 minutes, the family left the Colonial Village apartments, and shortly thereafter, their car broke down. Kayla said she thought the car died at approximately 8 or 9 a.m. Nothing like heroin and fentanyl for breakfast. That's not in there. That's me. According to Manchester Police Department records, the car was broken down in the intersection of Elm Street and Webster Street at approximately 12:11 p.m. on December 7th of 2019. Kayla said it was at that time that she and Adam discovered that Harmony was not breathing and was deceased. Kayla stated that Adam went to the trunk of the vehicle, removed clothing from a black and red Under Armour duffel bag, and placed the lifeless body of Harmony into the bag. Kayla stated at no point did either of them have any conversation about getting any type of life-saving measures for Harmony, and that Adam simply put Harmony's dead body into the bag and walked it back to the parking lot of the Colonial Village Apartments. Kayla indicated that once back at Colonial Village, Bodero drove them from the apartment complex back to their vehicle to collect their belongings before the vehicle was towed. Kayla said that Bodero then allowed them to stay in his Audi, parked in the parking lot for 2 or 3 days over the weekend. Kayla stated that while they were staying in Bodero's Audi after Harmony's death, Adam was keeping the bag with Harmony's body inside of the trunk of the vehicle, but also would leave it out on the snow to stop the decomposition of the body from happening. Anthony Bodero's grand jury testimony. On March 21 of 2022, Anthony Bodero testified before the grand jury for Hillsborough County, Northern District, as part of the grand jury's investigation into the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery. During his testimony, Bodero stated that after the Montgomery family was evicted, he allowed them to stay in his car, an Audi, for 2 days. He said that he believed it was the weekend immediately after Thanksgiving, which would have been approximately November 30th and December 1st of 2019. And he testified that he brought Thanksgiving leftovers to the car for them to eat. Bodero testified that he did not see Harmony in the Audi, that it was only Adam, Kayla, and the 2 younger boys. Bodero testified that he never bothered to ask where Harmony was. Bodero testified that the only 2 times he ever saw Harmony were back in August and September of 2019. Bodero testified that when the Montgomerys left the Audi after the 2 days they stayed there, that he believed Kayla said she was going to her mother's. In his grand jury testimony, Bodero testified that he only let the Montgomery family stay in his Audi for 2 days, but he was not aware of whether the Montgomery family was possibly living in a different car in the parking lot to his apartment building for additional days. Bodero said that they could have stayed in their own car, the Chrysler Sebring, before it got, quote, messed up. Bodero explained that he was aware that after the Montgomerys got evicted, they had a gray Chrysler, but that they didn't have the car anymore when they arrived to stay in his Audi. He said that when they arrived to stay in the Audi, they were dropped off by some friend of theirs who was a girl, and that they didn't have anything other than the 2 boys and formula for the baby and diapers. Bodero said they didn't have anything else, not even a bag of clothes. Donna Demmer's grand jury testimony. On May 20th of 2022, Bodero's girlfriend, Donna Demers, also testified before the grand jury for Hillsborough County, Northern District. She testified that the only time she saw Harmony was September of 2019, together with Bodero. She testified about the Thanksgiving leftovers being fresh, and she believed Bodero gave them to the Montgomerys either on Thanksgiving Day, 2019, or the next day. She testified that she had a brief opportunity to look inside the car the Montgomerys were in, which she said was Bodero's car, the Audi, and that she only saw 2 younger children in the car, not Harmony. Demers was confident that Harmony was not in the car. Anthony Bodero's proffer interview. On September 22 of 2022, a proffer interview was conducted with Anthony Bodero. Also present was Senior Assistant Attorney General Jesse O'Neill, Detective Max Rahill, Deputy Tufts of the U.S. Marshals, Bodero's attorney, Ashley Sheehan, and myself. Bodero indicated that he had met Adam Montgomery through Kayla in 2019. He admitted he did provide, quote, crack and fentanyl to the Montgomerys. Bodero stated he would buy the Montgomerys food stamps off of them prior to them staying in his vehicle and after they stayed in his vehicle. So they were selling their food stamps, probably for money to buy heroin. Bodero stated that after Thanksgiving of 2019, the Montgomerys came to him with just their 2 boys and no Harmony and asked if they could stay with them due to them being evicted and their car breaking down. Bodero did not recall how the Montgomerys arrived at his home. Bodero stated they arrived with few belongings and recalled a trash bag. Bodero offered them his Audi to sleep, which was parked in the rear of his Colonial Village apartment building located at 21 West River Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Bodero was unclear on the timing, at first saying it was the weekend after Thanksgiving, November 30th to December 1st. But then when confronted with information that the Montgomerys still had their own car at that point, agreed that it may have been the following weekend, December 7th to December 8th. He said that he provided them Thanksgiving leftovers, which would have been older leftovers if it was the following weekend, and a pizza. Bodero repeatedly denied seeing Harmony and stated that he only knew the family had been staying in the parking lot for 2 nights in his Audi. When confronted with the statement Kayla made about him seeing Harmony every day from Thanksgiving to the beginning of December and waving to Harmony and the 2 boys in the car, Bodero stated she was lying. I questioned Bodero about helping the Montgomerys retrieve belongings from their car when it broke down at Webster Street and Elm Street, and he stated he did not remember that happening. Donna Demers proffer interview. After Bodero's interview concluded, a proffer interview was conducted with his girlfriend, Donna Demers, with her attorney, Dan Duckett, present. Demers stated that she only stayed at Bodero's part-time and that she primarily resided with her parents in Derry, New Hampshire. Demers recalled the Montgomerys arriving at Bodero's apartment and that they appeared stressed and mostly concerned with getting drugs. Demers recalled them carrying duffel bags and trash bags, and when asked if there was any color to the duffel bag, she stated she believed there was, but could not recall any details. Demers was not aware if Bodero had helped the family retrieve any of their belongings from the vehicle, which had broken down. Demers remembered Adam, Kayla, and the 2 boys arriving, but was adamant she never saw Harmony. Demers recalled bringing fresh Thanksgiving leftovers, possibly the day after Thanksgiving, to the Montgomerys when they were living out of the car. She initially recalled that the Montgomerys were living out of the Audi at the time, but when confronted with information that the Montgomerys still had their own car that weekend, November 30 to December 1, Demers admitted she may not be remembering the car correctly. Demers stated that when she brought the Thanksgiving leftovers, there were 2 kids jumping around in the back seat, and she did not see Harmony in the car. At the time, SM was approximately 2.5 years old, and DM was approximately 10 months old. It is extremely unlikely that a 10-month-old would be jumping around, and therefore investigators believe that Demers may have seen Harmony without realizing it was her. Facebook and Google search warrants. During the investigation, search warrants were obtained for Facebook and Google records relevant to the time period of late November to early December 2019. Location data from Google was consistent with the Montgomerys staying in the Colonial Village parking lot from approximately November 27th, 2019 through December 8th of 2019, which corroborates Kayla's account of the time period they stayed there. In addition, another witness interviewed during the investigation, Kimberly Frayne, if you watched, I'm breaking from the document for a second, if you watched the gun trial for Adam, Kimberly Frayne was a key witness during that trial. She is the woman from whom Adam stole the guns and tried to sell them. He was, I believe, smoking meth or crack with her that day that he stole the guns. Kimberly Frayne recalled personally interacting with the Montgomerys while they were staying in the Audi at the Colonial Village parking lot during the overnight hours of December 7 into December 8, 2019. Frayne went to help the Montgomerys because the Audi had died and Kayla was worried the family was in danger from the cold. Frayne said that she did not see Harmony at that time, and it was only Adam, Kayla, and the 2 boys. Facebook messages exchanged between Matt Gendron and Kayla Montgomery also confirm this date and time frame, showing Kayla reaching out to Gendron about the Audi having died and being concerned about the cold. December 7th and 8th of 2019 would have been the weekend following the weekend after Thanksgiving. In other words, 1 week after the weekend, Bodero testified he believed the Montgomerys stayed in his Audi. This corroborates Kayla's time frame of when they stayed in Bodero's Audi. Interviews of Courtney O'Brien and Matt Garcia. On January 5th of 2022, investigators spoke with Courtney O'Brien, who said her husband, Matt Garcia, had known Adam their entire life. She also said that Adam used to work for her. She related how she and Garcia had seen Adam, Kayla, Harmony, and the 2 boys Thanksgiving night of 2019, and that the family was living out of the Sebring at the time. O'Brien also recalled a conversation she had with Adam sometime between approximately December 2019 and January 2020, during which Adam said Harmony was with her, Harmony's mom, that Harmony was with her mom, that it happened really fast, and Harmony wouldn't stop peeing her pants, and she was better off with her mom. That's what she says Adam told her. On January 5th of 2022, investigators also spoke with Matt Garcia separately from Courtney O'Brien. Garcia explained that he and Adam met when he was 14 years old. He considered Adam to be a friend. Garcia said that the only time he saw Harmony was on Thanksgiving of 2019 when Adam, Kayla, and the kids were living in a car. Garcia told investigators about a phone call he had with Adam on December 31st of 2021, which was after news broke that Harmony was missing. Garcia said he asked Adam about the news regarding Harmony, and Adam said he had talked to police that morning. Adam told Garcia he didn't know why police were bothering him and that he gave Harmony back to her mother after Garcia had seen her on Thanksgiving. Garcia said, Adam said, he goes, the kid, Harmony, wouldn't stop pissing and shitting everywhere. She was driving me nuts. We were living in the car, so I let her mom come and get her. Garcia elaborated, speaking as if he was Adam, that Harmony was having her accidents everywhere, all of the time, every 5 minutes. We were living in a car. I couldn't take it. I had to give her to her mom. The information from O'Brien and Garcia is consistent with Kayla's information that Adam would get upset with Harmony over her bathroom accidents and eventually killed her due to having had a bathroom accident in the car. Finding Montgomery's DNA in the Chrysler Sebring. Investigators located the Chrysler Sebring that the Montgomery family lived in after being evicted from 77 Guilford Street and in which Harmony was killed. This vehicle was the subject of a call for service at approximately 12:11 p.m. on December 7th of 2019 at the intersection of Webster Street and Elm Street in Manchester. This is consistent with Kayla's statement in her June 3rd, 2022 proffer interview that Adam killed Harmony on the day their Sebring broke down. Tow documents show the tow company was on scene to tow the Sebring from approximately 12:52 to 1:39 p.m. The Sebring was thereafter treated as an abandoned vehicle, and an abandoned vehicle tracking report created by Auto City Collision Repair Center for the Sebring noted that later, on December 16th of 2019, there was no power to the dash, and an attempt to jumpstart the Sebring resulted in the car immediately starting to smoke. The Sebring was eventually sold to Hebert's Used Auto Parts in Goffstown, New Hampshire, on or about January 29th of 2020, where it was located by Manchester detectives on approximately January 1st of 2022. The manager of Hebert's Used Auto Parts consented to the seizure and search of the Sebring by Manchester detectives. When the Sebring was searched inside of the vehicle, investigators located a pink Trolls electric toothbrush, which was assigned property number JMT7. This toothbrush was submitted to the New Hampshire State Police Forensic Laboratory, the state lab, for potential DNA analysis. A buccal swab was taken from Crystal Sorey by consent and was also submitted to the state lab for comparison purposes. Upon completion of the analysis, Katie Swango, PhD and criminalist 2 at the state lab, issued a report dated January 19th, 2022, where she wrote, the DNA obtained from the toothbrush is from a biological female. The DNA profile obtained from the toothbrush cannot be excluded as that from a biological child of Crystal Sorey based on a comparison of these DNA profiles only. It is at least 108 billion times more likely to see these genetic results if the DNA profile obtained from the toothbrush is from a biological child of Crystal Sorey than an untested, unrelated random woman. Should be noted that Harmony is the only female child of Crystal Sorey. Based on these lab results, there is strong reason to believe that the DNA profile obtained from the toothbrush is that of Harmony Montgomery and will be referred to as such herein. Movements of Harmony Montgomery's body by Adam Montgomery. Just going to check in with you guys over here and see how you're doing. This is rough. Yeah, let's be nice and keep it classy. We like to keep it classy here because we have a lot of viewers who tell me that this is one of the only channel where their 95-year-old mom can watch true crime because we don't use foul language and we don't attack each other in the chat, and we try to keep it classy no matter how horrific these charges may be and no matter how horrific this monster father Adam Montgomery may be. And remember, innocent until proven guilty, my friends. Innocent until proven guilty. Harmony's body moved to Kayla's mother's residence on Dubuque Street. And we actually, I'm going to break for 1 second to say that we did watch a video of an interview with Kayla Montgomery's mother at some point during the covering of the gun case. In her June 30, 2022 proffer, Kayla explained how Harmony's body was moved to various locations over the course of the next several months. She stated that after living in Bodero's Audi in the Colonial Village parking lot, that they then moved in with her mother, Christina Lubin, and her mother's boyfriend, John Galen, at Dubuque Street in Manchester. Kayla said that when they arrived at the residence, Harmony's body, which was still in a duffel bag, was placed inside of a red cooler with a white top in the common hallway of the apartment building. She stated the body was left there the whole time the family stayed there until the end of December 2019. And that is what I think is in the evidence bag that is on the defense or the center table of the courtroom, the cooler. On February 18th of 2022, Lubin testified before the grand jury for Hillsborough County, Northern District. During her testimony, she explained that in December 2019, Adam, Kayla, and the two young children moved in to live with her for 2 to 3 weeks, and they left on December 30th to 31st. Lubin said they did not have Harmony with them, and Kayla told her that Harmony had gone back to live with Harmony's mother at a rehab facility in Massachusetts. Lubin testified that during the time frame of December 2019, she was not aware of Adam or Kayla making any effort to get in touch with Harmony or Sori. She also testified that in that time frame, she did not see Adam or Kayla cry about not having Harmony. After Kayla's proffer interview, I traveled to Dubuque Street and I obtained a consent to search from Lubin and Galen, or Gallion. Looks like Gallion, sorry. I explained to Lubin that I needed to obtain a red cooler with a white lid. Lubin stated the cooler had been in her bedroom closet for close to 2 years. I asked her if this cooler had previously been in the common hallway, and she confirmed it was. Lubin and Gallion consented to the search and seizure of the cooler pictured below. The cooler was submitted to the state lab for processing. According to reports received from the state lab, the results of a screening test performed on samples from the cooler were negative for the presence of blood. In addition, no suitable areas of friction ridge detail were developed on the cooler. Here's the cooler. Harmony's body moved to families in transition shelter on Lake Avenue. Law enforcement previously knew, and Kayla confirmed on her June 3rd of 2022 proffer interview, that after leaving her mother's house, the family, Adam, Kayla, and the two younger children, moved into a families in transition shelter on Lake Avenue in Manchester, New Hampshire. This was approximately December 30th of 2019. In her proffer interview, Kayla said that the Under Armour bag with Harmony's body was brought to the FIT shelter as well. Kayla said that Adam placed it in the ceiling vent in the bedroom. Kayla stated that during this time, there was liquid coming from the bag containing Harmony's dead body, and there was an odor. She said Adam placed a trash bag around the bag to keep it from leaking. I need another trigger warning because I have to. Scroll back. Oh, thank you, Scott. All right, I got yours. Okay. Search of the fit shelter on Lake Avenue. On June 4th, 2022, detectives conducted a search of 177 Lake Avenue, number 1. During the search of the apartment, detectives located a ceiling vent in the bedroom pictured here. Here's the vent. Detectives removed the vent in order to check the top side of the ceiling sheetrock. There, next to the opening for the ceiling vent, detectives located a large area of staining. This area is directly next to the ceiling vent where Kayla Montgomery described that Adam Montgomery put Harmony Montgomery's deceased body in the Under Armour bag. Detectives noted that this area had a smell consistent with decomposition. The photo below was taken by a detective who was standing up in the ceiling vent hole after the vent was removed. The area of staining is circled. A large section of the ceiling sheetrock was removed and seized, which included the stain, metal framing, and the hole for the ceiling vent. The ceiling vent itself was also seized. The photo below shows the area of sheetrock and metal framing that was seized. The area of staining is again circled. Forensic testing of the ceiling section from the FIT shelter on Lake Avenue. The ceiling sheetrock with the metal framing attached together with the vent were submitted to the state lab for serology, DNA, and latent friction ridge fingerprint processing. And we don't need to read through all of this because this is a long affidavit, but suffice to say, the results of the forensic testing found fingerprints of Adam Montgomery. They did find some other fingerprints of a drywall installer. Wait, are they saying they didn't match? They were excluded. Adam's fingerprints were excluded. They found human fluids on those stains of the ceiling. Due to the complex nature of the DNA profile, it was inconclusive for comparison purposes. Some more photos of the ceiling. Photos that will be in evidence. The ceiling section and removed metal framing were submitted to DNA Labs International for testing. On August 4th of 22, forensic DNA analyst Adam of DNA Labs International issued a report of the analysis of the ceiling sheetrock. The report notes that 2 samples were collected from the sheetrock, which were then combined into 1 sample. The DNA profile obtained from the sample indicated at least 1 female contributor and was interpreted as 2 contributors. The report noted the DNA profile obtained from the sample is approximately 4.1 billion times more probable if the sample originated from Harmony Montgomery and an unknown person than if it originated from 2 unknown persons. This analysis provides a very strong support for the proposition that Harmony Montgomery is a contributor to the DNA profile obtained from the sample. The report also notes limited support for the proposition that Crystal Sorey and Adam Montgomery are not contributors to the DNA profile obtained from the sample. Further testing was performed on the ceiling sheetrock. In a report dated September 14th of 2022, forensic DNA analyst Aykroyd, wow, it's even spelled the same as Dan Aykroyd, I think. Okay. Aykroyd noted that another sample was taken from the sheetrock, which indicated a mixture of at least 2 individuals. Harmony Montgomery, Crystal Sorey, and Anna Montgomery could not be ruled out as possible contributors to the mixed DNA profile. And then they go into detail about the profile. Testing was also performed on 2 of the metal framing pieces. One of the metal framing pieces had an insufficient amount of DNA and no further analysis was performed. A sample from the other metal framing piece provided a DNA profile of at least 1 contributor. Harmony Montgomery could not be ruled out as a possible contributor to the profile. Crystal Story and Adam Montgomery were excluded as contributors to the profile. The DNA profile obtained from the sample is approximately 1.4 trillion times more probable if the sample originated from Harmony Montgomery than if it originated from an unknown person. On June 23rd of 2022, Kayla participated in a second proffer interview. During her June 23rd, 2022 proffer interview, she described a time when a maintenance worker came to check the vent at their unit at the Fit Shelter, apartment number 1, after a complaint from another resident who Kayla identified as Paula from apartment number 5. Kayla said that once people at Fit started saying they could smell something, Adam took the Under Armour bag containing Harmony's body, which was inside of a trash bag, from the ceiling, put it all inside of another trash bag, and then replaced it in the ceiling. Kayla said that once maintenance was called to check the vent, Adam put the trash bags, an Under Armour bag, and Harmony's body into the closet. Kayla stated that when maintenance checked the vent, they said it must have been a dead animal or something because they didn't see anything up there. Paula was identified as Paula Maldonado. I spoke with Maldonado via telephone. Maldonado said that Adam, Kayla, and their 2 kids moved into the Fit Shelter about 2 to 3 weeks after she moved in. She recalled Adam one time bringing up his daughter, and when she asked where his daughter was, he said she was with his mother, Harmony's grandmother. I asked her about a complaint that the Montgomery's apartment smelled, and he said it was her friend Mandy who made the complaint. She stated Mandy dropped off some clothes for the newborn and noted the apartment smelled. Maldonado said that Mandy was now deceased. I believe Mandy to be Amanda Crosby, who Kayla identified as being a female who lived at the shelter who is now deceased. If you're just joining, we tuned into court this morning unexpectedly because I thought closings were supposed to start at 2 p.m. Instead, they called in the jury, they swore them in, and the judge gave some initial jury instructions. I believe, my friends, they're coming back at 12:45. We have about maybe 8 or 9 minutes. If somebody can just let me know when they get back into the courtroom, we'll just finish up what we can here. Or actually, so after this, Harmony's body was then moved to Union Street. I mean, this goes on. There's tons of evidence against Adam Montgomery. I think we can all agree that we know how this case is going to end, but let's go to some of the questions before we get back to the court feed and watch the openings together. I'm just going to leave that there for now. This is horrifying and chilling and one of the worst cases that I have ever covered. Thanks, Amber, for being a member for 3 months for long overdue justice for Sweet Harmony. If you're just tuning in, Adam Montgomery has chosen not to be in court today. That is his right. We will see if he shows up for opening statements. My guess is that he won't. Thank you, Patricia Change, for your super chat. How is it allowed that he doesn't have to show up for trial? It's his right. He doesn't have to show up. His attorneys are there. He's represented. I mean, we saw it in Shonda Vander Ark. Part of that trial, she didn't show up after her throwing up episode in the court. While she was on the stand, I think. There were parts of that trial she didn't come to. Redtail, thanks for your super chat. How are Supreme Court trials different than regular trials? I don't know what you mean. Supreme Court, as in the United States Supreme Court, they don't hear trials. They hear appeals. They hear questions of law. They decide things on paper and the arguments of the attorneys that go in. They don't have regular jury type trials there, if that's what you're referring to, the U.S. Supreme Court. Here in New York, we have a different court system. Our New York Supreme Court is the lowest court, and then the middle level court is the court of the appellate division, and then our highest court in New York is the Court of Appeals. So I think you're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court. You know who's an expert on the U.S. Supreme Court is Kurt from Uncivil Law. Easier. Yeah, this is a hard trial to cover, you guys. This is a really, really hard one. but we're going to watch it together. We'll watch the openings at least today. We're going to try and get through it, but it's not easy. This is a no body case, so her remains were never discovered. This case is going to hinge on the testimony of Kayla Montgomery. And I believe that his defense is going to be that she had something, it was all her, that Kayla's lying, because remember, she's already been convicted of perjury because she lied to the grand jury in this case. Hi, Aunt BB2. How come the jurors aren't allowed to take notes? It varies by jurisdiction. We saw that in the Maya case, that the Florida jury was allowed to take notes, and also they were allowed to ask questions, which is very unusual. So it's up to the judge. Yay, recovery addict raid. Hello, hello, my friends. Hello, recovery addict friends. Court TV says 12th. I have it right here. It's open on my other screen. So as soon as it comes back, we will come back with that. Kurt says, I didn't know that trial in absentia was still allowed. Have you heard of a trial without the defendant present? Yep, I have. Do you want to join me in some legal research? Not today. I don't, because I'm doing this. But hey, you know what? That might be a good topic for you tonight. Just saying. For those of you who are following the Karen Reed case with me, I will be back tonight at 7 p.m. with Sean McDonough, retired federal agent, to discuss the Karen Reed case. We've all been waiting for a long time for some news to break on that case, and I don't think it's happened yet. But Sean's going to join me at 7 p.m. tonight. I haven't even put up that stream yet. I think it's going to be 7 o'clock, so don't quote me. We do know that court in this Montgomery case is going to be breaking at 4. So we know that. And then we're coming back with Sean McDonough, who's pretty awesome. That's okay, Jane. That's okay. Everyone's asking me about it, and they're like, are you afraid of the Twitter trolls? I'm like, no, I'm just waiting. I have a lot of stuff going on in my own life. So Sean and I had to get a time when we would be able to do it together. Peter Grant, that ceiling forensics are as good as a body, guilty as charged. Yep. Nikki McCormick, is it hard to prove a case with no body? No, it's actually, yeah, it's hard, but not impossible. We saw that in the Trezell and Jacqueline West trial out of Bakersfield, California. They were convicted of taking the lives of their 2 adopted boys, Classic and Sincere, and those bodies were never found. And there was a lot less forensic evidence in that case. I think there was no forensic evidence in that case. That case hinged on the testimony of a child. Kayla's testimony is everything. Yes. Does everyone have their emotional support animals ready? Hi, Scarlett. Remember we bought this little squeezy thing? You said I should use it during my show. Night Owl. In Rhode Island, we have district court, superior court, and state Supreme Court. So your Supreme Court is the highest court. Yeah, every state's different, so it's hard. This is New Hampshire, everyone. This is Manchester, New Hampshire. And from what I understand and from what I've seen, because the last time I was in Manchester, New Hampshire, in the downtown area, there were a lot of people walking around looking like zombies. I think there's a huge drug problem in Manchester. Those of you who are from New Hampshire, I know there are quite a few of you in the chat. Let me know what you think. But it was a little scary walking around Manchester trying to find a place to eat with a lot of zombie-looking people walking around. And this had to be probably maybe 3 years ago. Hello, Betty Ross. I'm so late. Are you going to be streaming the Montgomery trial and or do recaps? We're waiting for the court to come back. They're going to do opening statements. We thought they were going to start opening statements at 2, which they're not. So they did come this morning. We watched the jury instructions. We watched the judge from the bench swear in the jury. Then we went and read a large portion of the probable cause affidavit. And now we're waiting for Court TV to come back on, and we're going to watch the openings together. I don't know if I can commit to it every day, but I am here for it, at least to do recaps. Hi, New Hampshire woman. Lots of drug use here in New Hampshire. I mean, these people were living out of their car for an extended period of time. And only after the car broke down were they able to live in a friend's car for a little while. Then they lived at Kayla's mom's house for a little while. Then they got into a shelter. But this is horrific. Katie Henderson, I'm from New Hampshire, and Manchester has some really bad areas. Definitely agree. Linda Vergata says she never knew that about New Hampshire. And I, when we watched the firearms trial for Adam Montgomery, every single person who was on the stand was questioned about, smoking meth, smoking crack, smoking whatever they can get their hands on, heroin. And that's one of the issues with this case, is that most of the witnesses, if not all, are either recovered addicts or active addicts, and addicts lie. And it's going to come down to credibility of these witnesses. So how exactly did she die? She died from him punching her in the head several times in the car because she wouldn't stop having bathroom accidents in the car. That's according to Kayla Montgomery. Nobody ever turned around to check on her after she stopped making noises in the back seat. They're back in court. Well, Court TV is not back. So I'm waiting for them. Hold on. Here they are. Thank you so much. Well, they're there, but nothing's happening. So let's just hang on for a minute. I'll take some more questions while we're here. When the sound comes back on, we'll put them back on. Erica says drug use has exploded in the last 3 years, everywhere, or just New Hampshire? Jennifer, even if defense says she caused it, meaning Kayla, how will they justify the couple taking the body around with them? Yeah. Yeah, and she made a deal. She made a deal. They're back, but they're not talking yet, so I'm watching it. I got it on the other screen. Anne says, thanks, but this one's too sad for me to ponder the abusive pain of her innocently trusting short life as well. Only relief is to think of her now delivered to peace and joy. Yeah. Hello, Web Weaver. Hello. Hephairus, yes, I agree with you. I think it's harder to prove first degree with no body, and from Kayla's statement, it's second degree. Okay, Angel, I'm a recovering addict of 24 years, and I don't lie. Not everyone lies, just saying. Not when you're recovered, but when you were in active addiction, did you lie? Or are you saying you never lied? Okay, I'm not, I don't want to make generalizations, but I'm going to say that Kayla Montgomery has been convicted of perjury, so she's already a known liar. Do we know who the first witness will be? My guess is they're only going to go until 4 o'clock today. I don't know if they'll get through openings. It depends on how long the openings are. I don't know. Buzzing for Truth says New Hampshire has always been bad. Yeah. Yes, Aunt BB. Adam also admitted to his uncle that he punched her, hence his call to the authorities. Right. So it was the uncle, Adam's brother, who called authorities to say that she was being abused. And I don't know that they followed up. Aunt BB, remember? This was many cases ago that we covered this on Duty Ron. Hey, Joe, let's go. Yeah, so were the two boys in the car when all this happened? They sure would. They sure would. Nancy, is that all the stepmother will be charged with? That's ridiculous. Why not accessory to murder? She's made a deal. I'm not sure exactly what the details of her deal were. I'm almost positive it's a public defender, Red Tail. This guy has no money. He was living out of his car. I can't imagine that he has any money to pay for a defense, if anybody knows for sure, but I seem to remember that she is assigned counsel. It was Adam's uncle that called it in, right? Wasn't his name Kevin? Why do I think the name Kevin rings a bell with me? Peter Grant. Yeah, most of New Hampshire is beautiful. Agree. The lakes are beautiful. Small town living, it's the cities near Manchester, MA meaning Massachusetts or Manchester, that are bad. Yeah, I don't think we're saying that all of New Hampshire is bad. New Hampshire, the parts of New Hampshire are beautiful. I'm saying when I was in Manchester last, I noticed a huge drug problem among the zombies that were walking around downtown Manchester. Misty says an honest addict is a rarity. Cindy Collins, great question. Does TCF in New Hampshire allow a family to live in a car? I would say no. They eventually got into a shelter, but nobody was checking on Harmony. Nobody was checking on Harmony. A Massachusetts judge gave Adam Montgomery, who was a violent convicted felon already, custody of this 5-year-old girl when her mother did not show up for the court hearing because her mother was in a different court far away for the court hearing of the adoption of her other son, Harmony's half-brother, who was adopted by a lovely couple. That couple also wanted to adopt Harmony, but the judge decided in his infinite wisdom that he would give custody to Adam, who was a drug addict and multiple felony record kind of guy. But he was the dad. And he would get benefits if he had Harmony. So it's horrifying. Amy, not all drug users murder their children regardless of what he was on. I believe he's a monster, period. Yeah, and that's not any excuse at all. Half Irish, hopefully Kayla's had treatment. Her testimony is credible for the jury. Well, she became sober because she's in prison. I believe she's still in prison, so she should be sober. I mean, I understand it's also not hard to get drugs in prison, so we don't know. How old are the boys? What? No. I mean, at the time, Nikki, of this, they were 10 months and 2.5, so no. No, they would not be allowed to testify in this case. Abby said law enforcement came, but Uncle Kevin reported too late and the black guy was gone by then. Yeah, didn't they check in and say something like, oh, looks fine, looks good. Looks good. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Yeah, they're showing like the court officer rubbing his eye, but there's nothing really happening in the court yet. Uncle Kevin, Arizona off-grid, DCF dropped the ball again. This is just awful. It was Adam's brother. It was Adam's brother or Adam's uncle. I mean, I don't recall really. Somebody reported it. Let's just let's just put it that way. Night Owl, the deal was cooperate and we won't charge you. Deborah Guzman, true recovery does bring honesty, just saying. Thank you, Kimberly, for thanking me and thinking that I'm awesome. I appreciate you so. Yes, they were also cashing the checks after they knew Harmony was gone. Kayla was cashing the checks from the state for Harmony's benefits after she knew that Harmony was dead. So yeah, I think there's that as well. Quiet Storm, Massachusetts and New Hampshire failed this child. I agree with you there. Melanie Schuyler, where's Sally Smith when she's actually needed? Oh my God. That is correct. Weren't they supposed to be back 10 minutes ago? Yeah, but they're not. They're not back yet. Miku, hi Miku. Hey Joe, let's go. I think I can understand this is triggering, but also makes me very angry. Poor Harmony and poor small boys that were still with Adam and Crystal. Adam and Kayla. Crystal, sorry, is Harmony's bio mom, the ex-wife of Adam. Or I don't know if they were even ever married. So the baby mama, the bio mom of Harmony. Nurse Corky, a reference to the Maya case. Where was CPS? Oh yeah, going after sick kids in the hospital. Yes, Linda Vergata, mentioned before when you were reading, but this is somewhat similar to the Tommy Valva case as far as the father and stepmom with a bio mom trying to get help for the son. Those of you who are not familiar, the Tommy Valva case was here in New York on Long Island, and it was a NYPD officer and his step monster wife who had custody of the dad's 2 young boys. The mom tried desperately to get custody of those two boys through the Suffolk County family court system. She was consistently laughed at and thrown out of court, and the judge would not side with her because the argument is that the dad was a police officer. And tragically, Tommy Valva was found frozen to death in the garage because he was forced to sleep in the garage in freezing cold temperatures. And that's a horrifying case. Horrifying case. Instinctively correct. I'm sorry, but these cases right here are exactly why judges and the like should not be allowed to hide behind immunity. So sad. Yep, I agree with you. It's rough. Is that judge still on the bench, the one in Massachusetts? I don't know. I don't know. Jennifer, he got custody without proving that he can provide the most basic of needs. Cindy, this will be a very challenging case. So many people failed Harmony. Nikki, another child failed by the system. People are saying it's Adam's uncle who called. I live in the town next over from Manchester, says Alicia. There are parts of Manchester that are nice, but the downtown area is rough. The judge is back on the bench. And let's go back to the court TV feed. There's no volume yet, but it's coming. Retired with full pension. Jane, who are we talking about? Tommy Valva's dad. Fresh Brown Eyes, you're from Suffolk yourself. That child's case was horrible. Yep. Tommy Valva. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for loving the pink background. It's your favorite color. It's Harmony's favorite color, too. I'm wearing pink today in honor of justice for that poor, beautiful 5-year-old girl who was allegedly, tragically murdered by her own father. And the disposal of her remains was assisted by her stepmonster, Kayla Montgomery. Thank you, Tina. Thank you for covering this. A lot of people didn't want to because it's a tough one. It is a tough one. And I am a mother of 5, and this is very, very horrific. And we know how this case hopefully is going to end. But I think it still needs to be brought to the public attention because of all of the fails that happened here with the DCF system, with CPS, with the fact that Massachusetts gave custody to a New Hampshire dad, and there was no follow-up in between the states. Nobody even reported Harmony missing for 2 years. The last time her biological mother, Crystal Sorey, actually saw her was over a FaceTime call in 2019 around Easter, and she wasn't even reported missing until 2021. And that's when the Manchester police got the case. And they were still able to put together a whole bunch of forensics based on Kayla Montgomery's testimony after she perjured herself in front of the grand jury, came back with the real story. And they were able to find a lot of forensics that hopefully the jury will find is going to connect Adam Montgomery to her death. He's chosen not to be in court today so far. We'll see if he comes in. And I'm interested to see what they're standing up now, but still no sound. Oh, wait, they're leaving. Why is everybody leaving? I don't know. All right, well, still waiting. There's people leaving. Quiet Storm, as a DCF social worker with 20 plus years experience, I'm disgusted how the case was handled, the court included. Yep. Hi, Redtail. Mark Newman Redtail says, was the juvie court judge who returned Harmony to Adam. He retired in 2019. Interesting. Nikki McCormick, is Crystal charged? You mean Harmony's mom? Nope. Nope. Tom R, 33. Man, I have a 3-year-old boy. He can drive me crazy at points. I could never imagine doing what his father did. I don't get how someone can do that. I don't either. Nancy, when will all DCF be revamped with new laws? They give children to people not deserving and others that love their children, and they are taken away. For a wealthy country, this is insane. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Ms. Smith, does anyone think CPS is going to be inundated with reporters after the Crumbly hearing yesterday? If so, I'm afraid of more failures on the horizon. That's a good point. That is a good point. Nikki McCormick, didn't she wonder, you mean Crystal, where Harmony was at? Apparently she was caught up in her own addiction. She claims that she tried to find Adam, that she tried to drive by places where she thought that they lived, but she couldn't find them. And eventually she reported it to the police. Alicia says her biological mother even went to the now former mayor of Manchester, and her office did nothing. No, Taylor, we're waiting for openings to start. The jury was sworn in this morning, then they took a break for lunch, and so we are waiting. Some people in the front row just left. They were supposed to come back. The judge said they were coming back at 12:40 Eastern. So that's what we're waiting for. We're hanging in there waiting for it. We read a lot of the probable cause affidavit. I love everything, Karina. I love everything pink and sparkly. I feel like I'm magpie trying to hear YouTube, Melanie Little. Thank you. I love pink and sparkly too. So, something a little different. We try and keep it classy here too with the language. Not a fan of the cursey words. So we try and keep the chat clean. I have the best moderators on YouTube. We don't allow personal attacks or bullying. And I know if you've watched coverage on some of the, what I'll call mainstream media channels on YouTube, like Law and Crime and Court TV, the chats can sometimes be very toxic, to put it kindly. So we don't tolerate that here. So if you want to chat, feel free to chat. Everyone will welcome. Yeah, it's happening after lunch. Lunch is over. They were supposed to come back 20 minutes ago. So I'm not sure what's happening. KPT says Crystal was hunting for her. Yeah, she was hunting, but she didn't report it, or they didn't take the report until 2 years later, 2021. Please see my judge question above. You stopped for court immediately before reading it. Oh, blessed in Texas. Do you think I'm going to be able to scroll all the way back? I will try. I think this is the same judge who did preside over the firearms trial. That's why she looks familiar. Adam Montgomery's already been on trial once. Can sanctions be brought against judge for giving out in custody? No, there is qualified immunity. I mean, he didn't do research on the dad and evidently knew Crystal was at adoption hearing. Nope. Can't. Unfortunately. Somebody said about Kayla, she got 7 to 10. I think she has to serve 18 months. That's what Mama Bug says. Alyssa, oh my gosh, Alyssa, you work in a New York prison? God bless you. That's a really hard job. Thank you for your service. There are drugs everywhere. Jane says maybe Teardrop is making an appearance. Yeah, he's got some teardrop tattoo. One or more than one. Hello, Karen. Thank you for joining. You're on holiday. Have a wonderful holiday. This is not something that's going to make you happy. M and trans teardrop tattoo should be used as evidence. Well, they can see it. They can see it. Michael, can't even imagine someone hitting a tiny child like that. Nope, me neither. Nancy, how could a judge give custody to someone with no means to support her, especially when an adoptive couple wanted her? That's poor judgment, plain and simple. They wouldn't even adjourn the hearing so that the biological mother could show up in New Hampshire. I mean, in Massachusetts. And she explained that she had to be on another hearing for her other son who was getting adopted. Nope, wouldn't adjourn it. She didn't show up, gave custody to Adam. Was his rap sheet in the judge's file? I don't know. But it was quite long. Hi, B.A. Bren, watching from the UK. This case has international viewers. This is such an awful case. Justice for Little Harmony. I agree. Justice for Little Harmony. Very good. Have to deal with some mommy duties right now. Make sure everyone is taken care of. All right. I don't know what the court's doing, but we're still waiting. So here we are. And I congratulate everyone who's in recovery. And I am not going to say that every addict lies. What I'm saying is the jury may have a hard time believing them. They may have credibility issues in the eyes of the jury. Miss Smith, can someone explain the teardrop tattoo? Use it as evidence that way. Sorry if it's common knowledge. I think it means that you've killed a person if you have a teardrop tattoo. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. Estrella, judges give custody to abusers because, for the most part, they know moms will fight. That means more money for the court and lawyers. Oof, that's a horrifying thought. Miku. Miku says the people that left from the front row may have been witnesses that needed to leave. Yeah, no witnesses should be allowed in the courtroom during anything at all till after they testify. Really, sometimes not. If they're going to be recalled to the stand, they shouldn't be listening to any of the testimony at all. Raggedy Hobo, hard to hear, but nothing compared to what that little girl had to endure. We can take it. Yeah. It's hard, but we can. But we need to shine a light on what's going on out there. How many failures of the system happened here? Right, Nancy? I understand how difficult and stressful that workers within DCF would be. How can we, as citizens fed up with the system, do something to change the laws about child custody? If you see something, say something. If you see something going on with a kid from school or a neighbor, I mean, not a great comparison, but look at the Frankie case. The neighbors in Utah were complaining about the Frankie children being left alone in Utah for days. And they have free-range parenting laws in Utah, so apparently that was okay. And the police were limited in what they could do. Yes, half Irish. Know who you're voting for. Buzzing for Truth. Years ago, they used to visit the homes. Now they don't. Apparently there was one home visit. And then COVID. I don't know. Did they stop doing home visits during COVID? They may have. Redtail. Agree about DCF and Mass. Overworked and underpaid. Tom, thanks for sharing. When I was actively using, I lied my butt off any way I could to benefit myself. Now, after 14 years, I don't lie or manipulate like I used to. Abina, yes, teardrop tattoo stems from prisons and gangs. Each tear represents someone you've unalived. Wow. Hi, Andre from Canada. Sometimes a judge will ask the gallery to leave when bringing in a defendant or bringing out the defendant, depending on how dangerous they are. There's no sound on this right now. We're just getting a picture of the flag. I guess the The pool photographers were told to focus on that, and instead of maybe the jury's coming in. Selena, I'm from Utah, and it was ridiculously well known what they got away with. The Frankies you're talking about? Jennifer Harmony should have had a court advocate. Yeah. Yep. Nancy, do you know if witnesses not being in the courtroom is a statewide rule, or does that change from state to state? I don't think witnesses should be allowed to sit in the courtroom anywhere because they could be influenced by other people's testimony. So they should be sequestered from the courtroom prior to their testimony, at least. I mean, I can't give you 100% on that, but that's my understanding. Miss Bonnie, DV increased astronomically during COVID too. Yep, as did CA. Nobody was checking on these kids. They weren't going to school, so there was no mandated reporters.
Seated. Council approach.
Well, we were there for a second, and then they stopped the audio again, so we're back. Miku, I grew up in Utah, and free-range parenting is so common and terrifying. I'm so lucky with my brothers didn't have the system fail them. Bice is excited to hear opening statements. Court must be delayed. The entire row is leaving. Julie Frazier, Utah. The homes of some great parents. And we see that. We see that horrific parenting, right? And then we see somebody like Jennifer Crumbly, who maybe she was not the best parent, but certainly not of some of the most horrific that we've seen. She was just convicted of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for a mass shooting her son did.
All rise for the jurors, please.
Yeah. We can only wish, Amy. Thanks, Boogeyman.
All rise for the jury.
You may be seated. All right, sorry for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. One thing I think you will learn as you go through this process is sometimes things go exactly as we plan, and sometimes they do not. Right now, they are not going exactly as we had previously planned. So I apologize for the delay. And there are a lot of moving parts in a trial, so sometimes we need to switch things up. So originally, I had said that we were going to come in and do opening statements. We're going to do something a little different than that. As I said, we're going to be going on a view today. So prior to a view, the lawyers will give you what's called a preview statement to give you some information about what they want you to look at and what they anticipate that you will see on the view. We're going to do that first. So I'm going to give you an instruction regarding the view. Then the state and the defense will give you their preview statements. Okay. And then we will wait for the bus to come. And when everybody's ready, we'll get on the bus and we'll go for the view. Then depending on what time it is after that and other circumstances, we'll determine whether opening statements will be this afternoon after the view or whether they'll be tomorrow. Okay. So listen carefully to this instruction. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin this case with a view. We will be traveling to several locations within the city of Manchester to observe certain areas you will be hearing testimony about. The purpose of the view is to make the testimony you will hear more understandable. If you have the opportunity to look at a scene, the testimony may make more sense to you. Your obligation on the view is to look as carefully as you can and to remember what you see as well as you can. You may not ask questions. You may not take any notes or measurements. You should look carefully at what the lawyers will be pointing out to you. What you see on the view is evidence in this case. Please stay as close together as possible so that you will all be viewing the scene from approximately the same perspective. If you cannot hear or see, please call that to my attention or to the attention of one of our court officers. After the view is completed, you may not revisit the scenes on your own during trial. Also, you may not engage in any discussion among yourselves or with anyone else concerning what you see at the view. As you know, you are not to talk with each other or with anyone else about the case until the end of the trial when you are conducting your deliberations. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, counsel will have the opportunity to make their preview statements to you concerning what they expect you will be seeing on the view.
This is highly unusual, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a preview statement, not an opening statement. They're going to do openings after the field trip.
What we're going to do, and first of all, since it's my
Okay,
first
he needs to talk into the
opportunity
microphone.
as the jury, big J, as opposed to little j. Let me thank you again for your time that you're going to be putting forward not only today but throughout the trial. It's very important, both to society, to the government, to the citizens, and it is very, very much appreciated. The first part of your job, for the most part, is going to be taking place in this room. The vast majority of it dealing with the witnesses and the exhibits that you see. But as you just heard from Judge Messer, another part is going to be the view. This is evidence, what you're going to see today. It is going to be work on the view. You're going to have to walk around in 2 different locations, and the rest of them will require you to look out the windows of a bus to be able to take into account the neighborhoods that you were in. And I'm going to explain every place that we're going to go in just a moment, and then defense counsel will also have that same opportunity. Together, we are going to see where this happened. You're going to get to see the same places, the same locations in person that you are later on going to see and hear evidence at trial. And you've already heard, again, Judge Messer's instruction. You should consider today's view to be like evidence. In a few minutes, we are going to get on a bus, maybe about now, and we're going to see a couple different locations in Manchester. In some ways, it's going to be the beginning of a journey that you will likely never forget. This is also the last journey that Harmony Montgomery took while she was alive and where her body went afterwards. It's a journey that's into the actions of the defendant on that day and the days forward. And we're going to drive by places where Harmony was first assaulted, where she was later killed, or she was later consolidated and crushed. And then finally, the different other locations of where the defendant had her in the city. What you are going to see today is part of the evidence. Some of the locations that we're going to drive by, we are just going to pass by in the bus for a minute, and the bus is going to pull over to the side of the road. So you have an opportunity to look at that location and take in the surroundings. And on 2 of the locations, we will physically get out. One will be a parking lot, and the other one will be an intersection. We will not be going into any residences. Later on, you're going to hear testimony about different homes. We may be driving by an apartment complex today, but we will not be going inside in the actual rooms where Harmony was, or where Harmony later was kept. So we will be outside for the 2 times that we get out of the bus. So before we do that, I want to kind of start at the beginning. The first place that we're going to go to, and this is
Okay, he needs to stand in front of the mic.
High school. We're going to start at the courthouse. And the first place that we're going to go to is we're going to go down past Elm Street. Definitely not to scale. We're going to come across Merrimack, and we're going to go up here on Market Street. And at that point, we're going to pull the bus over to the side of the road, and you're going to be able to look out, and I would say look out the right-hand side of the bus to the area of 20 Market Street. That's the location of the methadone clinic where the defendant took Harmony that morning with the rest of the family inside a 2010 gray Chrysler Sebring. When you're there, I want you to be able to take into account just the outside of the building and also look at the neighborhood. I want you to see the number of other businesses that are nearby, the number of other cars that are nearby, the number of the amount of foot traffic that may be there while we're there. You're going to hear in opening arguments that it was at that first location outside the methadone clinic that the defendant came out from getting his medication, got into the car, and understood that Harmony had had an accident, saying, "Where's the effect of really Harmony again?"
Objection, Your Honor.
Approach?
Yeah, this is that is objectionable because he's supposed to just be giving a preview statement before they get on the tour bus to go on the tour of all the places that we talked about in the probable cause affidavit. So it's interesting that we just read the series of events. It sounds like they're going to go on this tour bus and they're going to go visit the methadone clinic where Adam came out of, apparently before he came into the car and started punching Harmony. They're going to go to the parking lot of those Colonial apartments where they were living in the Chrysler Sebring. They're going to go to the intersection where the Sebring broke down and Adam allegedly put Harmony's body into an Under Armour duffel bag from the trunk. They're going to probably drive by the FIT or FIT apartment that the family lived in, where Harmony's duffel bag was wrapped in a trash bag and was allegedly put in the ceiling tiles. They may be driving by Kayla's mother's house, where they lived for a little while and apparently had Harmony's remains in a cooler.
Ladies and gentlemen, that objection is neither neither sustained or withheld. The state will clarify. Go ahead.
When we're at that location, later on, you're going to hear testimony at that location. When Adam came out from getting his medication, you hear testimony that he sensed and smelled that Harmony had happened with afterwards, and that's where the assaults began of striking. That's why it's important for you to look around, to see what else and who else is there, and to know what that area looks like. From there, we're going to then come back onto Elm Street, probably do a loop around, go north on Elm, then we're going to go up to Webster Street, at the top of Elm, and that's right over where you get past where you can go on the bridge, the big Brady Sullivan Tower there. We're going to take Webster Street out, and here, we're going to go out on Daniel Webster Highway. And there's a Burger King. When we get to the Burger King again, we won't be getting out of the bus, but we're staying inside, and you'll have a chance to look at that parking lot. What the state is asking you to do is to pay close attention during that drive. How many stoplights roughly are we going through? What are the road conditions like? How long does it take to get there? You're going to hear testimony later on about that same drive. You're going to hear testimony how during that drive, the defendant's assaults continued. And he continued to hit Harmony as they stopped at red lights, as they stopped at stop signs. That's why you need to pay close attention during that drive. And we're going to go out to that location. After we've had a minute or two to sit in the bus there at Burger King, and you've had a chance to see the traffic flow, see what cars are like. At that time, we're then going to turn around. We're going to come back down Webster, continue north on Elm, and then we're going to cut over to an area on West River Drive, approximately 59 West River Drive. And there, we're going to make our first stop where we get out of the buses. 59 West River Drive is one of the street locations for Colonial Village Apartments. It's right up on, you can see poorly drawn river that's right on the backside there. We're going to be pulling in between those buildings and going to a very large back parking lot that's behind there. This is where your testimony that the defendant lived in his car after they had been evicted from their Guilford Street home, and where the defendant kept Harmony and the rest of his family after they left Burger King, after he continued to hit her, and drove back there to eat his food while Harmony was moaning. You're going to hear testimony that that's where he used his drugs while Harmony died. When you're there, I'm asking you to notice the number of apartment buildings that are nearby. Look at the number of cars that are in the parking lot, how big that parking lot is. I'm also going to ask you to take notice in that back parking lot area, look towards the tree line. Look at the very back row, closest to the river, where different cars can park. Notice all of that while you're there. It's going to be more than 1 or 2 minutes. So you can get out, you can certainly walk around, take your time to really look in that area and look at the different details that are there. Also look up at the side of the building. I'd like you to know whether or not you see lights on the side of the building that illuminate that parking lot, whether there are street lights that illuminate that parking lot. So do that while you're there. Once we're done, we'll get back on the bus and we're going to drive back towards the city, back on West River Road, back to Elm, and then south to the intersection with Webster. The buses are going to pull over on the side here, and we're going to get back out yet again. You'll hear testimony that it was here that the defendant's Gray Sebring died, in the intersection. That it was here that where, with his family, the car stopped working, and that it was here, just before he needed to get a tow, you'll hear how he went to the back seat and found that Harmony was no longer alive. I want you to look very closely around that intersection. Look at the traffic going through that intersection, the number of people that were available at that intersection. We're also going to hear the testimony that at that time, when he realized that she was dead, that when you look at the different businesses around, I want you to remember that when later on you're hearing testimony, how his actions was to take Harmony and to stuff her in a duffel bag. You'll also hear later a trial from a tow truck driver, and you'll hear about a gas station on the corner. So while we're in the intersection, and we're not going to be standing in the middle of the intersection, obviously, we're going to be standing on the sidewalk. But while you're there and you can move around, take note of how far away that gas station is and the short distance that the tow truck driver had to bring the car. And once we've spent enough time considering all of these, then we're going to be going to another address. You're going to hear a testimony about a lot of different addresses where the defendant brought Harmony's body afterwards. We're not going to be going to the first 2 addresses. That one that involves, you'll hear involves a deck, another one that involves a red cooler. We're not going to be here. We're not going to be driving by one on Lake Avenue as well that you'll hear testimony later on about where he stored Harmony in the ceiling. Where we're going to go is 644 Union Street. So from this intersection, we'll come back onto the buses onto Webster, come over to Union Street, and head south. And the intersection of 644 Union Street is right at the intersection of Union and Orange. So Orange is the cross street. You're going to see 2 buildings. We're going to be stopping right outside here, 644 Main. Testimony that you will hear later on involves also a parking lot that's general in the back. But here we're not going to be getting off the buses. You're not going to have to go inside. We're going to ask you to again look out the right-hand side of the buses and the size of the building. While you're there, we're going to ask you to please take a look at the number of apartments that are there, the number of neighbors that the defendant would have had based upon looking at those apartments. Look at the traffic, look at the lighting, look at the neighborhood. Later on, you're going to hear more testimony about that apartment and what took place in that apartment. Again, we will not be getting out of the buses. You do not have to go in that apartment. When we're done at Union Street, the buses will pull away. We'll come down to Bridge, back onto Elm, back south to Merrimack, and then back to the courthouse. I'm going to ask you to look at one last thing on this drive. As we come back to the intersection of Merrimack Street and Elm, roughly here, compared to how I'm pointing right now, down at that intersection, right across the street from each other, there's the Thirsty Moose Tap House, which is right on Merrimack. Right across the street from that is a Chase Bank right now. When we drive back down Elm and then we take that left-hand turn to come up Merrimack Street to come back to the courthouse, I'm going to ask you to look out the right-hand bus the window. We're not going to be slowing down there. It's Elm Street, a little too busy. But I do want you to look outside that Chase Bank.
The
In the
coughing.
winter of 2020, you will hear testimony that that was not a bank, that that was the Portland Pie Company, pizza shop, that that was where the defendant worked. And you're going to also hear testimony that that was where, on one occasion, he ordered his wife to bring a CMC bag containing Harmony's body and stored it inside a freezer, seen by other witnesses. So when you hear those witnesses and they talk about Portland Pie Company, we're going to be driving by that location. Again, it's a bank now. It's not a pizza place anymore.
This is the prosecutor.
But understand where that location is to be able to better understand the testimony that you're going to hear throughout the rest of this. And let me stress again, what you see on this view is going to be evidence. The locations we're stopping at: the Habit Methadone Clinic, the Burger King up on Daniel Webster Highway, coming back to Colonial Village where we'll get out, to the intersection of Elm and Webster where we will also get out, the drive by 644 Union Street, then back to Elm and the drive by what was Portland Pie Company before we come back to the courthouse. This will be your only opportunity, as you heard from the court, to look at these places in person until the end of this trial. So take the time. If you need more time, please let the court staff know. We will stay longer in the parking lot. We will stay longer at the intersection. We have great deputies and bailiffs who will allow you to be able to explore the space in a safe way, so that you're not going to feel like you've got traffic right on top of you or anything like that. So do please take your time. But when you listen to the testimony from the different witnesses, these are 5 of the key locations that you're going to hear. So it's important that you know what they look like in person before you hear that testimony. Based upon that, again, after you hear this and after you see all of the evidence of this case, we'll ask you to return a verdict that is just. But I would also ask you if you would please do also pay close attention to defense counsel's comments about the view, because again, the more observations that you can make on today's view, the better it will be for you to understand the testimony you see later on. And it's a one-only shot. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is highly unusual. They are doing a site visit today. They didn't do openings
This
yet.
is where the trial really begins for you, and you literally step into it. You step onto the bus, you go to places. These places are exhibits of your mind. These places in your mind, you apply to everything else that you hear, see, and consider in this case. The state said that this was the last journey that Harmony made. This is where the dispute starts. This is not the journey that Harmony made, but this will be the journey that we make today. And when we leave here and we go to Merrimack Street, that's a clinic. And it is a clinic that you'll hear testimony that Adam and Kayla frequented all the time, or quite a bit. And that when you're there, I want you to look. We can't recreate what was happening on particular days or particular weeks, who might have been coming and going at what time. So you actually can only look around and see the exposure. What is the parking there? What can you see? What is exposed? What is hidden? And then apply the evidence that you hear about events that may have occurred there, and consider, could this have happened? Put your mind to the testimony and apply it. This is what I saw. This is what I remember. This is what the witness is saying. It is your evidence, but it's evidence in the case. Then you'll go from the clinic to Burger King. And at Burger King, that's really very, very important to look at that entire layout. Again, we can't recreate the amount of traffic that was on a particular day or a week. We can't recreate any of that stuff. But you look at the parking. I want you specifically to look at how that drive-through works out when you make the order and then you pay the cashier and then you get your food. Take that into consideration. Take the time to think about a route through the drive-through. What is exposed? What is hidden? Who can see what from what angle? Think about the cashier. Think about all of the stuff around the drive-through. And actually, when you're there and stop, think about that from the time somebody pulls into the parking area. And again, you will be applying that to somebody else's testimony. And then you'll be thinking and applying that. Does this work? Does this not work?
If you are just tuning in, like perhaps Mary P., you did not miss opening statements. Opening statements are going to happen after the jury goes on this field trip today. They're going on a field trip. They're going to get in a bus. They're going to visit a number of locations that we just discussed prior to this because we went over a large part of the probable cause affidavit. So these are locations that are mentioned in the probable cause affidavit. And they're going on this bus tour and this site visit or these site visits today on a bus before opening statements even happen. I've never seen this before. Each attorney is currently giving a pre-view statement. So a statement before they get on the bus to go visit these locations where parts of the crime occurred, where Harmony was last seen, where her last moments might have happened. The prosecution drew a map of the places the jury is going to see. This is highly unusual. This is highly irregular. I don't know that the cameras are going to go on the site visit. My guess would be no, because in the Murdaugh trial, the cameras didn't go to Moselle with the jury, right? So every jurisdiction is different. This judge is not allowing the jury to take notes. So that is one thing that is interesting here. They can't take notes, and they're going to visit locations that they haven't heard anything about other than what they are now hearing from both sides in this preview statement. The judge has already announced that court's going to end at 4:00 today. The jury had lunch early, so it is 1:35 here on the East Coast. They're on East Coast time. I don't think they're going to get to openings today because I think this site visit is going to take the rest of the day, but they've already laid out all the locations. So anybody who is watching this at home can go follow around the tour bus. This is kind of crazy to me. What say you? This is the defense attorney. She is the same attorney who represented Adam Montgomery during the firearms trial.
What's going on here? It is your evidence. From there, you heard that we're going to Colonial Village, and that is a place that you're getting out. So you will take the time. Traffic's going to be different from testimony that you hear about, but you want to look what is exposed, what is hidden from particular places, looking at the building. What can you see? What can't you see? We're going to direct you to particular places and areas and say, take a look and consider from this perspective, something that pictures can never quite do. And you got to hold it in your mind and again, apply it to testimony as it comes in. This is an exhibit throughout the trial, not just for this afternoon. From the Colonial, you will go to Elm and Webster, which is a place that you're going to get out. And that is really critical on traffic because, again, it can't be recreated. But there is going to be testimony about traffic, about reaction to traffic. There's a car that's broken down there, and about what people did about the car, about what traffic was like because the car was broken down. And you want to, again, look, what's exposed, what is hidden, and apply your exhibit in your head to the testimony that comes here at trial. Then Fit Shelter is the next place. And you're going to hear about information that happened inside fit shelter. So you won't have that sort of same perspective of what's exposed and what's not exposed, because you won't actually see that part. And there's testimony about fit shelter that is very disturbing, but you still need to go there so that you put it in place about the type of place that it is. And
Objection? I'm sorry, I think there's an objection.
Okay, so a fit shelter, I believe, stands for families in transition, and they were living out of a car, so they got housing, I guess, through this, I believe it's families in transition, correct me if I'm wrong, program, and they did live in that apartment for a period of time. This is where Harmony's remains were allegedly stored in a duffel bag in the ceiling tiles, and we read part of the probable cause affidavit earlier, and we saw that they took a whole section of that ceiling out where they
Essentially
found
withdrawn.
messing up my words.
Harmony's
Union
DNA.
Avenue. Sorry. You will not be going into Union Avenue, but some very disturbing things occurred at Union Avenue. So you want to hold this into your head. Think about the building. Think about the location. Remember Union Avenue, even though you can't go into it, and I think you'll be very happy that you don't go into it. All of this is an exhibit inside of your head, and keep the names a little bit better than I did. I'm so sorry about that. But the location is the same, and this is the journey that we are taking. And at the end from Union Avenue, you're going to come back here, and as they say, pass by the corner at Merrimack and Elm. Keep that in mind. I also want you to keep in mind the distance from the two. Distance in this case is a little bit less important, but still something to keep in mind as a person testifies about traveling from place to place, about how long does it take, the traffic lights, what is the delay. And I did forget, at each of those traffic lights, I want you to look around again, just as you're going through the traffic lights, what's exposed, what is hidden. You're going to be on streets. Assume that everything on the street is exposed. Look around on the sidewalks and the areas around it as well. It's a difficult thing. Again, you're not taking notes. And you're going to have to remember this as you apply it to all of the testimony in this case. All of these locations are important, not necessarily for the reasons that the state said. There is a dispute going on here, but there is no dispute that all these locations are very, very important. And we can only ask you to pay attention as best you can. When we get there, we'll just remind you of perspective and specific areas to look at. I believe that we'll be going behind you to make sure that the bus stops long enough for you to absorb all of the areas before you go to the next one, until you step out and actually walk around, starting at Colonial Village. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the preview statements. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send you back into the jury deliberation room. This is a good time to use the restroom, have a drink of water. I think we've got a little bit of time before the bus arrives. We will let you know when the bus arrives, and you'll be escorted by the court officers. I will be on the bus with you, as well as some of the court staff. The lawyers will be going separately. So just be patient. As soon as the bus is ready for us and all of our business here is concluded, we will go ahead and get on the bus and begin the view. All right. The reminder about not talking about the case with each other or with anyone else, or doing any independent research, make sure you don't do that. Okay. All rise for the jurors, please.
Okay, so this is highly unusual. I've never seen this before. Opening statements did not happen. The jury's going on a field trip today on a bus, and they're going to visit many of the locations that are going to come up during the trial. And they're going to really just drive by them. Some of them they will be able to get out and visit them. Some of them they will not be able to get out. I don't think they're going to get to openings today because the judge already said she's only going to 4 o'clock on trial days. So thank you, Paul, for gifting a membership. That was very, very kind of you. Just to recap where the jury is going today, the first stop is going to be at the methadone clinic. They were each able to give a little preview statement, both sides, to talk about the locations and what they mean, but the jury hasn't heard anything about this case, not even an opening statement. So I don't know if this is the best time to do the view, but they're doing it today. They're going to the methadone clinic first. I don't think they're getting out of the car or the bus. Then they're going to the Burger King. Then they're going to the Colonial Village parking lot where we read earlier the family lived in the Chrysler Sebring for some time. They are going to be able to get out of the bus at the Colonial Village parking lot. Then they're going to the intersection of Elm and Webster. And I believe she did say that they are going to be getting out there. That is where the Chrysler Sebring broke down and the tow truck was called. That was also at the point where Adam allegedly put Harmony's body into the Under Armour duffel bag from the trunk because the tow truck was coming and he had to get suspicion out of the way. Apparently he had punched her in the face a few times, taken her life. Nobody turned around to look at her, and then he put her in the duffel bag at that location. After that, they're going to the Fit Shelter, which is Families in Transition, I believe, where the family lived at some point after that, and where Adam put the duffel bag into the ceiling tiles. They are also going to Union Avenue, which was a place that the family moved after. Then I thought she said something about the pie company. That's where Adam was working, and he brought Harmony's remains to the freezer at that location. And then there was some mention of a Chase Bank. The attorneys said, or the prosecution said anyway, that these are going to be exhibits in your mind. So you need to keep these exhibits in your mind. And apparently someone will be narrating the field trip. So there will be that. Somebody says that he's negotiating some sort of plea right now, and maybe that's why they're doing this today, and maybe that's why he didn't come to court today, because he didn't want to go on the site visit, or he wasn't going to be allowed to go on the site visit. I don't know where that's coming from. Is it coming from Twitter? I don't know. But what we will do right now is we're going to go back and pick up where we left off on the probable cause affidavit, because that's going to give us a little more insight into why they're visiting these locations. So we left off. And if you're just popping in, I just want to let you know that I will be going live tonight at 7 on the Karen Reed case with retired federal agent Sean McDonough. So if you're watching the Karen Reed case with me, you're not going to want to miss that. I didn't even put that stream up yet because I'm doing this one right now. Okay, so we left off at Lake Avenue at the Fit Shelter, where the neighbors had been complaining of a smell in the apartment. And now we go to Harmony's body moved to Union Street. In Kayla's first proffer interview on June 3rd of 22, she had stated that after living at 177 Lake Avenue, number 1, they, Adam, Kayla, and the 2 young boys, they were, I believe at the time, 2.5 and 10 months old. They're the biological children of Adam and Kayla. Moved to an apartment at 644 Union Street in Manchester. Police were previously in possession of a lease agreement that was apparently signed by Adam and Kayla Montgomery on February 20th, 2020, 2/20/2020. That's some numerology for you. For themselves and 2 children to lease 644 Union Street, second floor, apartment number 2. So I think that's pretty circumstantial evidence that they only had 2 children and Harmony was already gone. Kayla said that when they moved to the apartment at 644 Union Street, they brought Harmony's body with them. She said that Adam put the Under Armour duffel bag with Harmony's body, which was inside 1 or 2 trash bags, into a plastic bin storage container, which was then pushed on a stroller from 177 Lake Avenue over to 644 Union Street. Kayla said that Adam first placed the plastic bin storage container into a closet in the bedroom of 644 Union Street, apartment number 2. Kayla said that Adam then at one point took the Under Armour bag out of the plastic bin storage container and that the Under Armour bag was leaking. Kayla said Adam put another trash bag around the Under Armour bag and placed it into the refrigerator of 644 Union Street, number 2. So the Union Street stop is where they recovered the refrigerator from, which is also going to be an important piece of evidence. What was found in the refrigerator. Harmony's body moved into CMC maternity bag. WMUR confirms a plea deal is in the works, maybe for some of the charges, not all of the charges. Interesting. Let me know, Peter Grant, if something breaks. But we're still going to go through this PCA because the details of this case need to be known, and it is hard to cover, and it's horrifying. But there were so many fails in the DCF system, and we need to shine a light on it. Kayla stated that at some point after Harmony's body was in the refrigerator, Adam transferred Harmony's body from the Under Armour duffel bag into a new bag. Kayla stated this happened in the bathroom. Kayla stated that on the day in question, Adam spent 4 to 6 hours inside of the bathroom at 644 Union Street, number 2, with the shower running. 4 to 6 hours inside of the bathroom. Kayla then described Adam as placing Harmony's dead body inside of what she described as a Catholic Medical Center CMC maternity bag. This bag was much smaller than the Under Armour duffel bag, and it would not likely fit Harmony's body unless it was dismembered or grossly distorted. Kayla described an odor coming from the bathroom and saw steam coming from the bathroom when Adam would open the door. Kayla recalled the scent of cleaning supplies in the bathroom when Adam had finished up. Kayla stated that afterwards, Adam placed the CMC maternity bag inside of the freezer at 644 Union Street, number 2. She described the refrigerator freezer as a standard over-under refrigerator freezer combo. Thank you, Dennis. After Kayla's first proffer interview, investigators obtained an exemplar CMC maternity bag that they suspected might be the same as the one into which Harmony's body had been placed. During Kayla's second proffer interview on June 23, 2022, she identified the bag, shown below, as being the same style as the CMC maternity bag into which Harmony's body was placed. In her second proffer interview, Kayla said that Adam actually transferred Harmony's body from the duffel bag to the CMC maternity bag while they were still at 177 Lake Avenue. She said that this happened about a day or two after maintenance checked the vent in their unit and that the bags with Harmony's body were in the closet during that 1 to 2 day time frame. Kayla said that Adam made the transfer to the CMC maternity bag in the bathroom of apartment number 1, zipped the CMC maternity bag shut, and then put it in the closet. Harmony's body moved to Portland Pie Company freezer on Elm Street. This is one of the locations they are visiting today, the Pie Company. Kayla stated that she herself then brought the CMC maternity bag containing Harmony's body to Adam's place of work, Portland Pie Company restaurant on Elm Street in Manchester, where they were living at 177 Lake Avenue, while they were living at 177 Lake Avenue. This was done at Adam's request the same day Adam transferred Harmony's body into the CMC maternity bag. Kayla stated that she pushed the 2 little children to Portland Pie Company in a front-back stroller, and the CMC maternity bag with Harmony's body was between the 2 boys in the stroller. Kayla said Adam kept the CMC maternity bag with Harmony's body in the walk-in cooler at the restaurant for a week or so. The bag was then brought back to 177 Lake Avenue before being brought to 644 Union Street when the family moved. In speaking with former Portland Pie Company employee Cameron Gibney, he stated he had worked at the restaurant as a server in front of the house manager until about a month before the restaurant closed. Should be noted that Portland Pie Company in Manchester closed on or about March 1st of 2020. He recalled seeing the CMC bag in the cooler on a couple occasions on both the floor and the shelf, but never questioned Montgomery about it since he knew he had children. Gibney described the bag as a tote with straps and stated it was possibly white with red or pink. Gibney confirmed he had seen Adam Montgomery and only him handling the bag and bringing it in. On August 23rd of 2022, Gibney was shown a photograph of the CMC bag and confirmed that was the same bag he had seen in the cooler. Former Portland Pie Company employee Emily Thompson, who worked as a delivery driver, also vaguely recalled Adam tucking a bag into the cooler, but could not remember the details of it. Should be noted that Adam Montgomery worked at the restaurant as a dishwasher and cook between January 14th of 2020 and February 22nd of 2020. These witnesses corroborate what Kayla stated about her bringing Harmony's body in his CMC maternity bag to Portland Pie Company and Adam keeping the bag in the cooler there. I'm going to break for this for 1 second to just say that this is not great press for the Portland Pie Company. I don't know if it's still open right now. Not great press. Harmony's body was repackaged in the CMC maternity bag. Kayla also advised in the 6/23/22 proffer that she was actually in the 644 Union Street No. 2 bathroom when Adam took Harmony out of the CMC maternity bag. Photo of the bathroom follows for reference. This was taken recently and is only for size and layout purposes. The personal possessions in the photo belong to a different tenant and not Adam or Kayla. Adam's going to plead guilty to abuse of a corpse. Mary P says it's closed. They are closed, Miku. Okay, thank you. Closed in 2020. I wasn't sure if that was just a temporary closing for COVID or because they did say they're going to drive by it. Portland Pie Company is permanently closed. I guess they're going to drive by where it used to be. Is the sign still up? Anybody know? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brenda. Portland Pie Company is now the bank that was mentioned, the Chase Bank. Okay, got it. That's why the Chase Bank, they're going on the tour of Chase Bank. Got it. So this is the bathroom. Kayla stated that Adam took Harmony out of the CMC maternity bag in the 644 Union Street bathroom so that he could add lime to the CMC maternity bag to help with the decomposition of Harmony's body. Kayla explained that Adam dumped Harmony's body out of the CMC maternity bag into the shower. Kayla said Harmony wasn't bones. She had skin, teeth, and hair, and Kayla could still tell it was her. Kayla said Adam put about half the bag of lime or a little more into the CMC maternity bag, and she showed with her hands the bag of lime was consistent with a 40-pound bag. Based on Kayla's description of this process, Adam had a difficult time fitting Harmony's body back into the CMC maternity bag. Just Chrissy the crone. I'll take this down for 1 sec. Falsifying evidence and abuse of a corpse. How is he going to explain her death? He's probably going to blame it on Kayla. We don't know what the defense theory is yet. No opening statement. Jennifer Bossert, thank you for being here always and chiming in. So he is pleading guilty to abuse of a corpse. Bessie's trying to put blame on her death on another person or method of death as accidental. Yep. WMUR website has a breakdown of all of today's events. Abuse of a corpse is after the fact. My guess is his defense is going to claim Kayla for the murder. Judge is accepting Adam Montgomery's intention to admit to facts of falsifying evidence and abuse of corpse. Okay, but court's not back in session, right? They're going on their field trip. Oh, he's pleading guilty in court right now? Is that true, my friends? Let's go back to court TV. We'll see. I've got the court TV feed up and I'm not seeing it. Did it already happen or is it going to happen? Tell me, my friends. When I rewind, all I'm seeing is the statements that we already watched. So I don't think they're going to I don't know that they're going to bring him back right now because his attorneys, yes, already 5 minutes, rewind. Okay. His attorneys, were the attorneys in the courtroom? All right. Hang on a second. All right, it looks like he didn't even appear in the courtroom, that he was just on Zoom, so hang on a second. You guys are the best. You guys are the best, and we are here together. We're going to check it out. I don't need a production crew when I have you guys giving me the info in real time. Sounds not on.
You admit to each and every element of the offense of falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse. Is that accurate? Okay. And did you speak with your lawyers in detail about that?
Yes, I did.
And have you reviewed the opening statement in which they will tell that to the jurors?
Yes, I did.
And do you wish for them to acknowledge your guilt on both of those charges, falsifying physical evidence and abuse of corpse?
Yes.
And do you understand that it would be the state's obligation to prove each and every element of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt before the jury could find you guilty? Do you understand that?
Yes.
And that by agreeing to allow them to acknowledge this in opening statements, the jurors can find you guilty of those two offenses, relying
Yes.
on that information. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, and that is what you wish to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any further question about that?
No, I do not.
All right. Anything further that the state requests?
As further the state request, we assume that the court would take that into account and make a decision whether or not he's making a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of essentially proof of his facts and proceeding this way, which the court will do.
Okay.
He wants it on the record that it's a knowing and intentional voluntary waiver.
So anything you want to add, Attorney Smith?
Not on that issue.
Okay. So, Mr. Montgomery, having heard from you that you've discussed this with your lawyers, that you've reviewed the opening statements, the draft of the opening statement, that you acknowledge that you understand that the burden of proof is on the state to prove each of those offenses beyond a reasonable doubt, and that it understanding that it is your desire for them to proceed with that strategy, the court does find that this is a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver of your rights, and will allow them to proceed on that basis. Okay?
Oh, yep.
Okay. So while I have you, today you did refuse transport, so I want to talk to you about tomorrow. As we discussed with you this morning, you can't change your mind midway through the day, but you can inform the court if you wish to come tomorrow. And what I would like to do, and each day thereafter. So you can come and we will send a transport for you. That is your absolute right. But as I explained to you this morning, it's also your right to waive your presence and for us to proceed in your absence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instruct the sheriff's office and the Department of Corrections that someone will ask you tomorrow morning, do you wish to come to court today? We will have transport available to you if you want to come, but I am not inclined to send a car up there to pick you up only to have you refuse. So do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any concern about that procedure?
No, I do not.
Okay. So it is our intention to have someone ask you tomorrow morning whether or not you wish to come. And whenever they come to ask you that question, they're going to need an answer from you so that we have sufficient time to make sure that we get you down here in order for us to start the trial in a timely manner. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe your counsel will be speaking to you later, at some point later today.
Not
Oh,
today.
not
We
today.
can't.
Okay.
24-hour notice.
Okay. So that's going to be the procedure for tomorrow morning and each day thereafter of this trial, unless and until the court makes a different order on that. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything further from the state while Mr. Montgomery is present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Montgomery, you're free to go now. I appreciate that that you are speaking with us when we need to speak with you, because we are keeping the jurors waiting when we do this.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're all set.
Okay.
All right. Counsel, we will wait to hear when the bus is here. As soon as the bus is here, I guess I'll just have you all notified. Yes. Yes, I know. Oh, the bus is not here, right? When we thank you, Peter. When the bus is here, let us know so that we can gather everybody up and make sure everybody is in their respective vehicles at the right time. So we'll have somebody, probably the court officer will check in with you. I'll get on the bus with the court staff and the jurors when we get the go ahead from everybody. Okay. All right. Very good. Let me know if you need me before then.
Okay. So in a very crazy turn of events,
Counsel.
thanks to you viewers for telling me this. He has the option of Zoom because he chose not to come to court today. That was his choice. Adam Montgomery has pled guilty to 2 of the 3 charges. He has pled guilty to falsifying physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. The trial will continue on the second-degree murder charge for Harmony. He has the option of Zoom because he chose not to come to court today, and that is every defendant's right not to appear in court. He's represented by counsel, so he's not a no-show. The strategy here, it sounds like these are misdemeanors, abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence, according to somebody who just looked that up, Scott, right? Dennis, who's also retired law enforcement from New York, thinks it's going to be shifting the blame. I think he's going to try and blame Kayla and say, you can't believe anything she says. Yeah, it's not odd. It's not that odd. This happens a lot, that he appears by Zoom or that he pleads guilty. I don't think we expected it in this. It's unexpected, let's say. It is an odd turn of events that they're going on the site visit before they're doing opening statements. So perhaps this plea deal was in the works and they wanted to make sure that the plea deal happened before they crafted their opening statements, because maybe they're not going to be allowed to talk about certain things because he pled guilty to it, to all of the disposal, the lime, the disintegration, what happened after the fact. We'll see if the jury's going to allow that in. Somebody said that site visits are required in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, criminal trials. That's interesting. Now, if he could just say where she is, yeah. Her remains have never been found. Well, he pled guilty, but not to everything. They're still going to try him on the second-degree murder charge. Peter says he will have to take the stand and hope the jury believes him. Amanda says he's an effing coward. Cammie doesn't think that'll fly. It's going to be he said, she said. Jennifer says maybe hoping this plea makes him look favorable with the jury. Could be. The judge gave him the option of whether or not he wants to be transported to court tomorrow, but says that he needs to let her know because she doesn't want to send transport to the jail and then have him say he doesn't want to come. But yeah, you can be guilty of abuse of a corpse and not murder if you didn't have anything to do with the murder and you helped someone dispose of a body. Kept saying before he can't wait for this day in court. Coward, says Elder Scrolls Grandma. Wow. Jennifer Duncan, tell us where she is, Adam. Tell her mother. What is the reason for going on the field trip? They're going to visit all of the locations that are going to be mentioned in the trial. And some of the locations they're going to be able to get out of the bus and some they will not. They will be driving by. There will be one of the attorneys will be narrating what they're going to see. But each attorney, each side did a preview statement today, not an opening statement. So this is kind of out of order. I've never seen it before, where they did a site visit before they even had opening statements. And no, he doesn't have to take the stand. He doesn't even have to put on a case or have a defense. But if he's going to pin it on Kayla, I think he's going to need to testify to that. It's horrifying. So I don't know if all this stuff about the lime and the Home Depot trip and all the stuff that he bought to allegedly get the corpse into a smaller bag or a smaller place is going to be allowed in if he's pled guilty. It's interesting. Does it go to consciousness of guilt? Maybe. It is the saddest story ever. It is. Okay, should we go back to the probable cause affidavit, my friends? Should we go back? We're almost through, so we might as well finish. Trigger warning again on this. YouTube has already flagged this as not being suitable to advertisers. I've appealed it. Let me know if you're seeing ads, please. During the live, let me know if you're getting ads because this happens a lot. And yeah, it probably is unsuitable for advertisers. It wasn't a copyright strike. It's a subject matter strike. So we'll see what happens. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Maybe this one's smaller. Okay. Based on Kayla's description of this process, Adam had a difficult time fitting Harmony's body back into the CMC maternity bag. Harmony's body was frozen. Kayla saw Adam run the hot water in the shower and tried squishing Harmony's flesh to thaw it and make it easier to fit into the bag, fit her into the bag. Kayla helped cut Harmony's clothes off her body to make her fit into the bag better as well. Kayla described Adam eventually pushing on Harmony's body, and then she heard a bang. She was not able to elaborate on what this bang was. Adam also banged the CMC maternity bag on the floor while zipping it. Kayla said that she also helped zip close the CMC maternity bag. After the CMC maternity bag finally zipped shut, it went into the apartment freezer. Adam then cleaned up the room with ammonia. On June 30th of 22, Detective Rahill received maintenance records from Dennis Cloutier, who is the maintenance person back when Adam and Kayla lived at 644 Union Street. He's also the current maintenance worker. It should be noted that a service request was executed on 2/27/20 at 644 Union Street, where Adam and Kayla lived. The request reads, snake tub and fix lever. This service request was 5 days after Adam's employment ended at the Portland Pie Company. No ads yet. Hi, Katya. Yes, I don't get ads either. I also have premium. Okay. U-Haul rented to dispose of Harmony's body. Kayla stated that Adam kept the CMC bag with Harmony's body inside of the freezer at 644 Union Street, number 2, until sometime during the spring of 2020. She wasn't sure if it was March or May of 2020, when Adam rented a U-Haul and during the overnight hours made a trip to an unknown destination to dispose of Harmony's dead body. Kayla stated she did not know the location of where Adam dumped Harmony's body. Kayla stated that Adam returned in the morning hours, but she could not recall an exact time. Kayla stated that around the time that Adam disposed of Harmony's body, they stayed in the Econo Lodge or Comfort Inn in Manchester, New Hampshire. She said that Adam brought the CMC maternity bag with Harmony's body to the hotel and placed it in the mini refrigerator in the room. Kayla said that they were accompanied by Travis Beach and his girlfriend, who Kayla only knew as Brittany. Manchester police know Brittany to be a reference to a specific person, Brittany Bedard. Kayla recalled that Adam went to rent the U-Haul with either Travis, Brittany, or both. Kayla saw the U-Haul from the hotel window, and she described it as a van with large $19.99 on the back, which is consistent with the lettering and numbering on a U-Haul rental vehicle. Kayla said that after the U-Haul was rented, Adam left in the middle of the night at approximately midnight or 1 a.m. Adam told her he was leaving and he would be back, and he took the CMC maternity bag. She didn't see him have anything else with him. Kayla said Adam didn't want her to know where he was going in case something like this happened, apparently in reference to Kayla's proffering this information to police. Kayla said Adam then returned at approximately 5 or 6 a.m. that same morning. When he returned, he seemed very tired, and he said words to the effect of, "It's done." Kayla said she didn't see the CMC maternity bag after that. It should be noted that in Kayla's second proffer on 6/23/22, her statements were consistent about the U-Haul and did not materially differ from her original proffer. Corroboration of Adam Montgomery using a U-Haul to dispose of Harmony's body. Around the time that the Manchester Police Department began looking into the whereabouts of Harmony, the department established a 24/7 tip line so members of the public could call in with any information. On 2/26/22, police service specialist PSS station advised that there was a call that came through the Harmony Montgomery tip line. PSS Stratton, PSS Stratton, I think I said station earlier, noted that the tip came from this phone number. I called the tipster who wanted to remain anonymous. The tipster stated that a Jenna Lee Paris and her boyfriend Travis Beach had come to the tipster's residence a month ago and disclosed that approximately 2 years ago, Adam Montgomery frantically asked Beach if he could rent Adam a U-Haul truck. The tipster stated that Adam did not disclose what the U-Haul truck was going to be used for, but stated that Adam asked Beach in a frantic manner to rent the vehicle. Detective Feliciano located Beach and Paris at 1361 Elm Street in the rear parking lot of the apartment building in their vehicle and attempted to interview Beach. Beach was uncooperative and stated he would not answer any questions unless it was with his attorney or probation and parole officer. Thank you, Heidi Cakes, for your super chat. As a cake artist, this turns my stomach. Everything needs to be labeled and dated in a cooler to comply with health codes. No one even asked about the bag. Yep. And remember, this was also just before COVID became a thing, and the world was kind of shutting down right around that time. Looking for another trigger warning here. Thank you, Scott. Detective Feliciano located... Okay, he didn't want to talk to anybody without his attorney. That's where we left off. On 3/9/22, Deputy U.S. Marshal Tufts and I made contact with Beach at the Hillsborough County Probation and Parole Office. I asked Beach to tell us about Adam asking for a U-Haul. Beach stated that he recalled it was around wintertime of 2019, early 2020. Beach stated that he had run into Adam on the street in the area of Union Bridge at the convenience store. Adam continued to say, "I effed up, I'm so effed." Beach stated Adam wouldn't tell him what he meant when he said, "I effed up, I'm so effed." Beach stated he was with Brittany Bedard and Adam was with Kayla and their 2 boys. Beach was asked if he had ever seen Harmony, and he stated he had not. Adam asked them to rent him a U-Haul, and he recalled Brittany renting Adam a box truck from the U-Haul on South Willow Street in Manchester. Beach stated they left from there, and the next day Brittany called U-Haul to make sure Adam had returned it, she said. And he had. Beach stated that he had never heard of or seen Harmony, and only knew Adam to have 2 sons. Beach stated that he thought Adam and Kayla were living on the 2nd floor of an apartment on Union Street at the time of the U-Haul incident. Beach was asked if he ever knew Adam and Kayla to have a car, and he stated he had never seen them with a car. Beach was asked why he hadn't been cooperative initially, and he stated once he saw things in the news, he put 2 and 2 together and thought maybe it was related. As I continued to ask Beach questions, Beach then asked what I was getting at and stated he wanted an attorney. On 4/20/22, Detective Rahill and I interviewed Bobby Johnson, an inmate at the Hillsborough County House of Corrections, who wished to speak with us about the Harmony Montgomery investigation, specifically in regards to Travis Beach. Johnson had known Beach for 7 to 8 years. Johnson had stated he had a conversation with Beach a few weeks prior, at the end of March or beginning of April 22. Johnson stated they were at a drug house getting high and smoking crack. Beach stated he had something to tell Johnson that was eating at him. Beach stated Adam Montgomery was one of his best friends. Johnson stated also present at the time was Beach's girlfriend, Jenna Lee Paris. Beach stated Adam called him and came over to his place, and Adam said he effed up, that he did wrong, and he needed his help. Johnson stated Beach's girlfriend then stopped him from saying anything further to Johnson about Adam's statements. Johnson stated the tone of the conversation was that Beach was going to say that Adam killed the child and disposed of the body. He stated Beach was saying Adam was asking him for a few days to help him get rid of stuff. Beach stated they drove around the country for the next few days getting rid of stuff. Johnson stated that Beach never mentioned body parts, but that it was stuff wrapped in plastic or plastic bags. Johnson also mentioned Adam asking for tools and supplies and included blankets and tarps from Beach. Jenna Lee told Beach not to talk further about it because it could get him in trouble. Johnson felt that Beach was trying to get it off his chest. Beach also stated to him that the police had been looking for him to ask for information. I asked him who else was there during that conversation, and he stated just Beach, Jenna Lee, and himself. Johnson added that he believed Beach mentioned the west side of Manchester as areas they went and possibly a street starting with the letter C. Johnson also believed Beach was driving when all this happened. On 4/21/22, Detective Rahill and I interviewed Travis Beach at the New Hampshire State Prison with his probation officer, Officer Wright. Beach stated that Adam Montgomery requested that Beach rent a U-Haul for him. Beach did not have a license, so he used Brittany to rent the U-Haul for them. Beach stated that Adam and Kayla were picked up from the Orange Street, Union Street area. He stated that they had children with them, but only 2 children. Beach believed that the weather was starting to get warm, but there was snow on the ground and that this was potentially inside a February-March 2020 timeframe. Beach stated that he was staying at the Comfort Inn around this time and that Adam and Kayla were staying at the Econo Lodge. He advised that during this time, when Adam was requesting a U-Haul, Adam approached Beach stating that he effed up. He believed this to be after the U-Haul was rented. Adam never told Beach what he needed the U-Haul for, and Beach never asked. Beach advised that Adam told him that he was having problems with DCYF during this time, and that is why they were staying at the Econo Lodge. Prior to the interview concluding, Beach signed a consent to search for his Facebook account after stating that he and Adam had used this platform to communicate. Beach provided us with his login information, and a preservation was completed for his account, which was identified as Facebook account TDBeach618. After the preservation was completed, I attempted to log into the account, but the login information did not work. In her 6/3/22 proffer, Kayla explained that the reason why she initially said that the last time she saw Harmony was when Adam dropped her off to work at a Dunkin' Donuts was because Adam had told her to say that time frame and to say that Adam was returning Harmony to her mother. She said in essence that Adam told her she wouldn't get in trouble if they just stuck to the story. On 6/9/22, Detective Rahill and I conducted a voluntary interview with Nicole Giles, a former tenant of 177 Lake Avenue in Manchester, New Hampshire. Giles lived at the address during the time period when Adam and Kayla Montgomery were residents there and was an associate of theirs. Giles remembers going to the Econo Lodge to see Kayla and Adam during the time frame when Kayla and Adam were living at 644 Union Street. She advised that she did not go into the hotel room, but believed she dropped something off to them. She also believed this was odd that they were renting a hotel while they also had an apartment in the city. Interview of Brittany Bedard. On 6/27/22, Detective Rahill Deputy Tufts of the U.S. Marshal Service and I were in Daytona Beach, Florida to try and locate Brittany Bedard. With the assistance of the Daytona Beach Police Department, Bedard was located and she agreed to a voluntary interview. We explained to Bedard why we wanted to speak with her. Bedard remembered going to Adam and Kayla's, located at 644 Union Street, and playing with one of their children. She was able to pull up a photo she took during that time on her cell phone. The photo was timestamped at 6:02 p.m. on 3/1 of 2020. Metadata associated with the photo showed a GPS location at 644 Union Street. Bedard also provided us with her email address at the time. Bedard believed that around that time frame, Bedard, had rented a hotel room at the Econo Lodge. She stated that she believed that she tried to rent a room at the Comfort Inn first, but did not end up renting it due to having to put down a large deposit on the room. She believed that she was refunded for the room and that they would then went to the Econo Lodge to rent a room. Bedard stated that when they were at the Comfort Inn with Adam, Kayla, and their kids, she remembers seeing a CMC bag in between Kayla's two children in a stroller. Was that a rough one, you guys? Bedard remembered staying on the 3rd or 4th floor at the Econo Lodge, facing the front parking lot in a room with one queen bed. Detective Rahill was able to get the hotel room information for Brittany Bedard from the Econo Lodge, which she showed she rented 2 hotel rooms for 2 nights, one being 3/3 and 3/4 of 2020, one being room 216, the other being room 313. Detective Rahill later went on to the Econo Lodge and confirmed that room 313 was on the front parking lot side, south side, and had 1 queen bed. Room 216 was on the back parking lot side and had 2 queen beds. Bedard believed that at some point, she and Beach went to the U-Haul location on South Willow in Manchester to rent a U-Haul. She said that she was in a vehicle, possibly her mother's vehicle, and went into U-Haul to help pay for the transaction. She believed that the transaction was around $30. She claimed that she did not rent the U-Haul due to her not having a valid license. She thought that a taller, skinny white male rented the U-Haul. She was unsure if it was Adam. She stated that she did remember Adam driving the U-Haul sometime after it was rented. She believed Adam dropped her and Beach off at a 7-Eleven convenience store, possibly on Queen City Avenue in Manchester. Bedard thought the rental was a smaller 10-foot box truck due to the fact that she had to sit on the ground between the driver and the front passenger. Bedard claimed that this was the only time she was in the U-Haul. Additionally, Bedard remembered the U-Haul being parked along the back side of the Econo Lodge along the building on the north side. Okay, and then they're going to go through the records regarding the U-Haul rental. This is the probable cause affidavit that led to his arrest. And they're going to talk about the records and how they're connecting that back to Adam. And that it was, in fact, Brittany Bedard's credit card used. Then they're interviewing a guy named Brandon. All these people are probably going to be called to testify at the trial. All of these witnesses. Interview of Brendan Middleton. Some of them are incarcerated. His testimony is also going to go to the U-Haul. Then they're going to go through Travis Beach's Facebook records, his Facebook messages with Adam Montgomery. I'll scroll through this slowly in case you want to come back later and slow it down and read it word for word because it's getting to be a lot. Some conversations between Beach and Adam Montgomery on Facebook Messenger. Some missed calls. It's all establishing a timeline. Some calls and video chats between Adam and Travis, which are short. Adam is saying things like, please don't message me stuff like this on Facebook again. They're going to talk a little bit about Travis Beach's proffer interview. I'll stop it there in case you want to come back and freeze on it and read it. A lot of talk about people doing drugs together. Massachusetts DOT records for the U-Haul. Violations of not paying tolls at Tobin's Bridge. dates and times, and how they are all going to tie into the timeline that Kayla gave them. Photographs as well of the U-Haul van with the plate number. They are here. Forensic testing. The U-Haul van was sold at auction. I'm going to scroll through here slowly for you so you can come back and read this if you like. They seized the refrigerator at 644 Union Street. That is one of the stops that the jury is making today on their bus tour. The refrigerator was seized. At that time, the swabs that they got from the refrigerator were pending further forensic testing. Detectives went to the Econo Lodge that we talked about, earlier, where Brittany and Travis were. And the conclusion of the detective who signed and swore to this probable cause affidavit says, based on the foregoing facts and circumstances, well, right before that, the sentence is, to date, Harmony's remains have not yet been located. And that remains the case as we sit here today, February 7th of 2024. Conclusion, based on the foregoing facts and circumstances, there is probable cause to believe that Adam Montgomery committed the crimes of second-degree murder, tampering with witnesses and informants, falsifying physical evidence, and abuse of corpse. Therefore, I respectfully request that an arrest warrant be issued against Adam Montgomery for the following charges. 1 count of second-degree murder, contrary to RSA section 631B, in that he recklessly caused the death of Harmony Montgomery, a person under 13 years of age, under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to the value of human life, by repeatedly striking Harmony Montgomery on the head with a closed fist, and 1 count of tampering with witnesses and information, contrary to RSA 641(5)(1)A, in that he, believing that an official proceeding as defined in another statute or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, he purposely attempted to induce or otherwise cause Kayla Montgomery to testify or inform falsely, and 1 count of falsifying physical evidence, contrary to another statute, in that he, believing that an official proceeding, investigation is pending or about to be instituted, he purposely altered, destroyed, concealed, or removed the body of Harmony Montgomery with a purpose to impair its verity or availability in such proceeding or investigation, and 1 count of abuse of corpse, contrary to RSA 644(7), in that he purposely and unlawfully removed, concealed, or destroyed the corpse of Harmony Montgomery or any part thereof. So yes, Virginia, you are correct. He did plead guilty to 2 charges. He pled guilty, and we watched it. You'll rewind later. Pled guilty to falsifying physical evidence, and he pled guilty to abuse of corpse. The 2 remaining charges are second-degree murder and tampering with witnesses and informants. The trial is going to proceed on those 2 things. The jury is on a site visit today. We watched the attorneys give pre-view statements to the jury. They did not do opening statements yet. I believe that's going to happen tomorrow because court is ending every day at 4 p.m. It's 2:30 p.m. on the East Coast, and I don't think they're going to get back in time to do opening statements today. That will happen tomorrow. Thanks, Amy, for becoming a new member. That's awesome. For Millionaire, it's crazy they're taking them on a murder tour. Never seen that before. Nope. They went to Moselle in the Murdoch trial, but that was the scene. They're going to a lot of different scenes. Jennifer, these clinics need to do monthly home visits on clients with children in the house. I say this as a recovered addict myself. I agree. I think we just answered this. Oh, then he was on trial for gun charges for stealing guns and for attempting to sell the guns, and also As a felon, he was not even allowed to touch a gun or possess a gun. So there were some possession charges that went along with that. And therefore, tampering with witnesses was with regard to Kayla, trying to get her to change her testimony. That's what she's going to testify to. So now it looks like the star witness against Adam Montgomery is going to be Kayla Montgomery. We're going to have to see how that plays out. But this is all about poor Harmony, justice for Harmony, and we hope justice will be served. But after the jury verdict we saw yesterday, anything can happen with a jury. Anything can happen. I think he's going to have to testify, because I think if he's going to try and pin this whole thing on Kayla, the jury's going to need to hear from him. That is what I think. And with that, my friends, I'm going to say goodbye to you today, because this has been a lot and I'm overcome. Thank you to my moderators for hanging in there. It was a long one today, and we're coming back again later. So I'm going to come back tonight and talk about the Karen Reed case with Sean McDonough, who's a retired federal agent, DEA to be specific. It's going to be at 7 o'clock as of right now, and perhaps 8 o'clock, but I'm going to shoot for 7. So I need to talk to Sean and get our act together, post it. I have a lot of things to do before then. So that is where we stand today with the Adam Montgomery, my friends. Adam Montgomery case out of Manchester, New Hampshire. It is horrifying. If you would do me the kind favor of liking the video, subscribing to the channel. YouTube has already demonetized the video as being unsuitable to advertisers, so that would help. And I'll see you guys later. I'll post it soon. So make sure you have the bell set with all notifications. To my cupcakes and my viewers and replay viewers, I love you. I'll see you later. Peace out, you guys, and hug your kids. Be cool, be kind, be classy. It's not hard.